Hi guys and welcome back to Hearthstone Champions League. My name is Nimsh and I'm here with Aquablood to tell you the story of those four remaining players. Aqua, how are you doing, man?
Fantastic, man. We got some great games coming up for you guys. Ostkaka, Ekop first, followed by Thijs and Pavel. All these players are going to want to make a mark in this tournament. It is a major. It has $10,000 on the line, and I'm sure each player wants to get this tournament under their belt and on their CV.
Absolutely. We started very strong with an amazing lineup, but now we are down to four: Ostkaka, Ekop, then Thijs and Pavel. And those matches right now, the Ostkaka versus Ekop, it's about the money as well. It's not only about winning the whole tournament, but the loser has a chance to not get anything, and the winner has at least 3,500 guaranteed.
And no, fourth place is not getting any money today, so all these players are going to be playing hard at least to get some cash and get an investment out of their time they've put into this tournament. And starting off, we have Ostkaka playing the Zulok and Ekop playing the Patron Warrior. And these guys are playing quite similar lineups, quite aggressive lineups, whereas on the flip side, Pavel and Thijs are playing more control-oriented lineups. So this should be quite a dynamic matchup to start off with.
Yeah, I agree. It will be funny in a contrast where I assume those guys will finish quite fast, regardless of the scores, the 3-2 or 3-0. And then Thijs versus Pavel might be a bit longer. I'm actually happy that Pavel changed his Reno lock to Zoo, because if we would see another Reno lock versus Reno lock, well, that would take a while.
Yep, kind of like the old Control Warrior.
Yeah.
Versus Control Warrior.
Okay, so Zoo versus Patron, I believe this is a good matchup for Patron, but Zoo has a good start here, and Ekop only has one Whirlwind Effect and an Unstable Ghoul.
Although,
yes?
finding that Whirlwind is a big deal now. Grim Patron, Whirlwind in a Rage on turn 6. So, like you said, it's a good matchup for Ekop, and he will be able to leverage the board heavily with those Grim Patrons and interact well with those minions.
Absolutely. Alright, there is Gormok as well. I really like this build of Gormok, and this is the Brand Bronzebeard instead of the Chinese version of the Zoo, which runs Leroy Sea Giants and Handsome Meccano. But I think this version is a bit more stable and a bit more board-centric as well.
Don't you just love it when you drop Bran and then you drop Gormok and you just do 8 damage to face?
Oh man.
Doesn't that feel great?
That does feel great. It does feel great. Especially because I think Gormok is similar to Sea Giant, where you really need those minions on the board, like around 4 minions, which is not usually a problem for Zoo, especially if you have cards like Hunter Creeper. And then you can have, instead of just slamming a big guy on the board, you have this flexibility of deciding if you want to go for face or if you want to remove a minion, and you still end up with a 4/4 body on board.
Yeah, the 4/4 body alone is not too bad for its cost, so even if you don't get its Battle Cry, you can still play it for tempo as a 4/4. But, you know, Ostkaka's close to getting those minions, but the only problem is Unstable Ghoul. If that does pop open, it'll kind of ruin his day. What do you... I guess it's in his best interest to leave this Ghoul alive at the moment, at least until he can find Gormok, a Gormok play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Ghoul is kind of annoying for now, and on Ekop's side, you can just wait. You can even kill one of the spiders just in case, because he is seeing this kind of board. You know, Ostkaka is planning something maybe like Defender of Argus to protect the spiders and then kill the Ghoul. Implosion is not doing much.
Yeah, not the greatest card to pick up when you're fighting Unstable Ghoul. If he could clear Unstable Ghoul first. Which Death Rattle was played first? I can't quite remember.
Here? Unstable Ghoul was played first.
So the spiders will survive, right?
Yeah. So what do you think about Juggler into Dark Peddler and try to snipe the Ghoul?
Yeah, I think he is going for that exact play here. Oh, we'll pop the Ghoul open first. Okay, so he's going to protect the health of his Knife Juggler. Doesn't want that Armor Smith clearing it up. And now he's dropped quite a threatening board. And he's almost close to Gormok in. And if that Knife Juggler does stick around, the implosion will be devastating as well.
Taking Abusive as well to be able to enable Gormok and have a good clear on something else. Power Overwhelming was tempting because that's a really nice burst, but if you assume this Armor Smith is killing one of your minions, you end up with 3, you will be able to Abusive 1, that will be the 4th minion, and then slam Gormok as the 5th minion on board.
So what you do here is Ekop, I guess you can just wait because the next turn you've got that really impactful moment. You run the Armor Smith into the Knife Juggler, guarantee the kill on it. So as long as nothing too huge comes down, Ekop will clear most of this board. What do you think Ostkaka should do? Does that attack tell you enough information that Patron's coming next turn?
Yeah, I think it tells you a lot. On 5, you normally do not explode with Patrons. There was no weapon, so if I would be Ostkaka, I would guess there is Enrage and Whirlwind. At least those 3 cards: Patron, Whirlwind, Enrage. And knowing that, well, Gormok still deals some damage, but you really cannot protect the rest of your board because you don't have Defender of Argus. So just trying to. Oh man, this is so tough. Like, on one hand, Gormok is one of the great tools to deal with those patrons. So maybe you would try to set up a board to kill the patrons where they show up. Like, if there is 4 of them. Yeah, he's going for that exactly. He wants to have those minions to be able to counter patrons if there is a big patron turn.
And there's only one Whirlwind effect, so the Big Game Hunter will stick around. The egg won't be popped, but he may be able to use it with the Abusive Sergeant. He's got Power Overwhelming as well, and Implosion, so you can use all those 3 cards next turn, so he'll have ways to deal with these patrons going into the next turn. So I think Ostkaka is still pretty comfortable.
Well, we are going to see 6 patrons, and 2 of them will be on 1 health. So it's not the best still, but Ostkaka has ways to not die, to reduce the patrons a bit. And then Ekop is actually locking a play on turn 7. He only will have Execute. So with the 6 patrons, let's see. What can Ostkaka do? Power Overwhelming on an egg. That clears 1 free. Then 1 free can be killed with a 4-1. He can Abusive. Can he still Gormok? Yeah, so he can still Gormok. I think it's alright overall. Like, he is able to kill a lot of those patrons here.
He's killing the key ones as well. Like, the 5 ones do pose a threat, but ultimately they can't spawn any more patrons, so they're just 5-1 bodies now. They're just Magma Rages. So if he can clear the ones with health quite efficiently, which he can with the resources in his hand, things are not looking too bad. It's still a winnable match for him.
Absolutely, and he's getting a 4-4 in the process. He's still having actually double 4-4s here, and a 2-1 that's contesting one of the 5-1s. So if Ekop can't really go for face, Armor Smith is not doing much, so he might just need to trade into those 4-4s, reduce the board. But Ostkaka is the one with the draw with the life tap, and Ekop will be kind of top decking here.
Yeah, he puts himself behind having to trade in that situation. Ostkaka can play 2 minions per turn, even off top decking. He can play Ink Boss now, maybe tap for another 2-drop, and just take the initiative on board. And like you said, Ekop will be in top deck mode, and then he has to find answers to Ostkaka. Abusive Sergeant was a great pickup there, clear up that Armor Smith. The Armor Smith is great for taking out imps. And look at that top deck, it's such a whiff, so Grom needs to come down now and just try and put some leverage here.
Yeah, and with Grom, Ostkaka can actually remove Grom easily. He can even use Leroy. And by the way, that's actually a Leroy in the Gormok Zoo. So, interesting addition as well, like this extra burst. Suddenly, people realize that Leroy is a good card in the Zoo deck.
Who would ever have thought, right? Always in Hunter, always in Rogue. But now it's in Zoo. I remember a guy playing Leroy in the NVIDIA Grand Finals in his Zoo deck, and I think he actually won that tournament with the Leroy inclusion, because no one expected it. But now everyone's kind of expecting it more since the America's preliminaries have become very popular. And like you said, such an easy clear. Grom goes down, double execute, sitting in Ekop's hand. He's going to have to find a good draw here. Battle Rage, it's going to draw him a card, but Shredder's not too bad. It's a minion at least, and it sticks to the board.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But still, Ostkaka did stop the Patron outburst. He stopped the Grom, and now what can Ekop have? He has one more Battle Rage to maybe draw a couple more cards, but he did use that one. He has Dr. Boom still, and there is a Sea Giant. So wow, this is an interesting deck. Like, he's still playing Gormok with the Sea Giant, so it is, in fact, maybe he's not playing Enhancer Meccano. He's just playing Gormok instead.
I think you could run both, potentially. I mean, Gormok does... he needs the same requirement as Sea Giant, lots of minions, so they kind of work well together. I don't know if we saw an enhanced mechanic from Ostkaka yesterday. Maybe he doesn't like that inclusion. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if we see a Doomguard at all, because these variations of Zoo don't generally run Doomguard.
We did see it from someone. Was it Ostkaka with Sea Giant attacking twice?
I think it must have been Ostkaka.
Yeah.
And I think Ekop's running the more traditional Zulok, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, with Bran.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, we've seen a lot of Zoo because Pavel is also running a Zoo deck. So that was a bit confusing, but a good knife, not hitting the Acolyte of Pain.
Although this Acolyte of Pain might get some draws if he doesn't get cleared. Oh, well, actually, Knife Juggler's probably just going to take care of it, to be honest.
Absolutely. And there is still a Sea Giant opportunity. And Ostkaka can clear this board, and then Sea Giant might be troublesome for Ekop to deal with, especially with no minions, no activators. He will need to draw into something. And Activator, most of the time, Activator will not be the card he wants. Like, he wants Dr. Boom, right? For example, to be able to start fighting back for the board. If he draws something like a Taskmaster, or, well, it's actually a Patron deck, so something like a Whirlwind or Enrage, it will not... Well, actually, Whirlwind would be amazing here.
The issue Ekop has is, how does he win this game? I mean, how does he ever clear the board and generate his own amount of threats, especially with a Sea Giant coming down as well? So, Ekop draws a Death Spite. That is one of the activators, but look how much damage you're going to tank to face. You might have to execute the Knife Juggler here just to slow things down a little bit.
I think that's not bad. He might kill the Direwolf Alpha as well. So, like, kill Direwolf Alpha with a weapon attack, and then even play the Frauding Berserker and execute the Knife Juggler, as you mentioned, so that he does, the Sea Giant will attack into Frauding, and if he gets something like a Patron, he might have a chance to do a bit more things, but he decides that 3 damage is not that much from the Knife Juggler.
And now the Argus can come down on the Knife Juggler, and it puts him out of range of just the Death Spite's Whirlwind effect, so he'll have to tank another minion with his weapon. He can potentially clear the Giant then with the Execute, but so much damage going to face. Like you said, a Patron, picking up a Patron next turn might be enough to kind of get things rolling, but so far Ostkaka is just in so much control in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Ostkaka is the one dictating the tempo and drawing cards as well. If Ekop gets Dr. Boom, then maybe, because he is almost clearing this board next turn. With the Execute landing on that Sea Giant, even if Defender of Argus lands on the Knife Juggler here, then he will just attack into the Knife Juggler and kill it. If it doesn't, then he attacks into one of the Imps and kills the Knife Juggler anyway. So Dr. Boom might be really nice to get back if he draws into it. If he doesn't, then Patron is a possibility as well. He'll be able to play Patron, Frauding Berserker after, maybe, as a 2-4, to have some minions on board.
Oh, interesting. So he's forcing that weapon to go 9 into the Sea Giant. He's playing around the Execute. He knows that this might be the only activator Ekop has for an Execute. He can't tank a Sea Giant now. And that was really smart play from Ostkaka, actually.
That was super smart. That was super smart. Not trying to protect the Sea Giant through taunting other minions, but basically forcing Ekop to lose right here, right now. There is no way he's going to execute this.
That was really smart. I did not expect that from Ostkaka. Very well played from him there. Knowing that Ekop, once he's taken all that damage, his only way to get that Whirlwind effect off would be equipping another weapon or tanking 9 damage to face, which he couldn't do. So well played from Ostkaka.
I'm amazed. Like, this is the word. Like, it seems obvious after he does that, but it is such a world champion level of play. Even Ekop was like, he looked at it and he was like, this is super smart, because I wasn't even thinking about it, and we haven't discussed that, but that was just a brilliant move and a brilliant read, where your opponent sits on those 2 cards for the longest time, and you know that, hey, he was not going to execute the Knife Juggler, right? So you do make a read that he has those conditional cards that he just couldn't play before. He is just seeking the activator. So that was a really nice play.
I know Ostkaka has shown these next level plays before in the past and during the World Championship last year, so it's no surprise to see something like that. And like you said, if you look at it, it looks really simple once it's happened. But the thought process Ostkaka went through to get to that point where he thought, actually, maybe Ekop doesn't have any activators other than Deathbite. Taunt up the Sea Giant, he's going to have to kill himself. So, he's just thinking about the game and Ekop's hand and what Ekop can do on a whole nother kind of spectrum, and that's what makes him a world champion.
It's also such a counterintuitive play to make, because you want to protect it, so you don't want to give it on so that someone can attack into it, but in a sense it really worked. But now we're going to see Zoo versus Paladin. So, well, the previous one seemed to be a good matchup for Ekop, but he lost it. And now it seems to be a good matchup for Ekop again.
Yeah, that's true. He's playing the more traditional style of Zoo with that Doomguard. Like you said, the Bran, the Dark Iron Dwarf. Ostkaka is rocking the kind of new school Chinese Zoo, which has been adopted by the American players. But yeah, this could be a pretty good matchup for Ekop. No consecration for Ostkaka just yet. Very key card in fighting for the board here. But Ekop already has quite a strong lead. He can coin straight into Imgang Boss if he wants to play something quite sticky. Or he can go into Knife Juggler if he wants to put more of a threat down. But that runs into Coghammer, so Imgang Boss is probably the safest minion he can play at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to underline the fact that he has that free mana to drop, or like 2 mana, well, basically free mana to drop on turn 2, and then follow up with Bran, Dark Iron Dwarf, and then Knife Juggler into something. So he has a really good opening to fight what Paladin can throw at him. But on the other hand, Ostkaka also has that shielded mini-bot with a secret, Piloted Shredder into Lothab. If he picks up something like Mysterious Challenger, he might have a fair fight versus Ekop.
Yeah, I mean, he still has to deal with a Bran Bronzebeard as well. The double battle cry on the Argus, or the Dark Iron Dwarf might give a nice swing to Ekop again in his favor. I mean, even if he plays the Shredder now, he can clear the Imgang Boss, but he can't clear the 2 Imps. So a big defender of Argus can come down, unless he goes for the Muster this turn, or the Blessing of Kings to deal with that Bran. I think Ostkaka needs to analyze how much of an impact Bran can have next turn.
I think going for Muster into Bran makes a lot of sense. You're generating a big board and you're dealing with one of the biggest threats. If there is Defender of Argus just buffing it to 4/6, it's really tough. Alright, so he goes for Blessing of Kings to not floating mana, but he knows that Bran Bronzebeard is the biggest threat here.
And Dark Iron Dwarf can come down and clear up this shielded mini-bot, but if Bran had stuck around, it would have been a devastating turn for Ostkaka. So he identified that Bran was a big threat, took him out, but lost his kind of Blessing of Kings and his mini-bot at the same time. But with a Lothab to follow up, that might be his next play. Or he could go for a Muster and generate a lot of 1/1s just to try and get some leverage on the board with building a bigger board than just dropping a big 5/5, which can be taken out by these 2 minions on board already.
Yeah, exactly. It's a problem if a Lothab just gets killed, and it's not like you're blocking many spells from Zoo anyway. Zoo mostly has the minions. And Master for Battle makes a lot of sense. Maybe Shredder with Avenge as well, because then Avenge will not proc, but there's always a threat of redemption or some other secret which might lock the attack. But he decides to go for Lothab.
So maybe he's hoping Ekop just slams his board into this, doesn't have like double abusive or something like that, and maybe he can rebuild his board from there. But Ekop just drops the Doomguard, discards another Doomguard, but keeps his Argus. Argus might play a big role, and now Ekop's in the driver's seat with a tremendous amount of power on board. And Ostkaka top decks a very good card to deal with some of these minions.
Yeah, the Mysterious Challenger was absolutely needed here. Consecration wouldn't cut it, but he goes for Master instead. A single Mysterious Challenger can be answered pretty easily, especially with the 5 to Doomguard just being buffed with something and an Imp attack maybe. So he knows that just Mysterious Challenger wouldn't be enough here. He wants to generate enough of a board to be able to use Avenges that he's getting. The Avenge that he has right now, and the Avenge he's getting from Mysterious Challenger in the future.
I mean, this Juggler might proc an Avenge now. Yep, so an Avenge is going to go off. So unless Ekop just clears all this board, his Challenger will become much more powerful next turn if he has some minions left, because then he can spread the power across the board with Avenge with some good luck. So I think that's why Ostkaka went for that. But Ekop just goes on the offensive here, just smashing him in the face and forcing Ostkaka to have an answer.
Yeah, there was no great way to trade into those minions. So he is trying to get that advantage he got on board as fast as possible. There's the Mistress Challenger for Ostkaka, and he got Tyrion on turn 8. So it is he still has a chance to survive here, especially. How much damage is it? The Juggler can die, and then there's 6 plus 3. Alright, so on the back of the Tyrion, maybe Ostkaka will still survive. So this is a really close game at the moment.
Implosion gets picked up from the life tap. Argus is another way to create defense and power on the board. But you can also go for an Implosion to create more minions, throw some knives around. But first he's going to kind of open up the Christmas tree, get all the presents open. And Redemption, Avenge. Maybe he doesn't run a Redemption. Maybe that's competitive. Oh, we've seen competitive for it actually. So yeah, this would be Redemption. So no Repentance in this deck. So we got 8 damage there. He can add an extra 2 damage with the Defender of Argus. Goes for the Implosion, so it looks like he might just go for the clear on the Challenger. What do you think about that? Is this an opportunity you should take to be aggressive with all this health?
I think it makes sense. Like, if you expect... he misses, but if you expect Tyrion to come as a zoo... Like, as a zoo, most of the time you should take an opportunity of trading, if possible. But because he missed, he didn't have that chance. Also... if you would get lucky with the juggles, maybe there was a lethal opportunity. Was there 8 damage? It was okay. So no lethal opportunity, but just having more minions on board is nice.
Tyrion's gonna be a bit of a brick wall here for Ekop unless he finds a silence. Although Ostkaka does deal with this board quite efficiently. Doesn't find a silence.
Yeah, he still has a chance with Dark Peddler to maybe find the Soulfire, but the situation turn more or less. He can deal with the Divine Shield with the single imp, but then Lotheb is just dying, and the 9/1 Challenger might have only 1 point of health, but he still attacks for 9.
He's alive and kicking, and he can still swing to face for 9. Tyrion can deal with the Voidwalker or the Lothar. Well, he'll have to deal with the Voidwalker if he plays it, the Tyrion, and then I can just smoke for 9 in face, and then Ekop needs just to find another way to deal with Tyrion. You might find, say, an abusive, maybe use the Argus to clear the Tyrion, but then that Ashbringer goes into Ostkaka's weapon slot, and that's 15 damage over 3 turns, so this is a perfect opportunity for Ostkaka to come back in this game.
Absolutely. He can't even play the Flame Imp here, because he'll go down to 20, and then he's dead to Blessing of Kings top deck. This is such an interesting game.
Ragnaros!
Oh, wow. Okay, I absolutely forgot about this card. Does it set up lethal in some weird way?
No, I don't think it does.
Not necessarily, but still, if you go with the 9/1 into the 5/5, with the 6/6 taunt into the 1/3, and play Ragnaros, you can deal 9 damage to Ekop this turn, and then he just... he is in a bind, and I like that. Oh, he's going for Mistress Challenger. Is there a second Noble Sacrifice? Because I was curious if he even has it.
Noble Sacrifice would be perfect. If he knows there's a Noble Sacrifice left, I think Challenger is the better play because it protects your Tyrion. But if there was no Noble Sac, I would have just slammed Rag at that point. And yeah, we'll see if it is a Noble Sac. I assume it is. Ostkaka, I think, would have went for the Rag if he didn't have a Noble Sac left.
I think there is no secret, right? Or is there a secret?
I can see something glowing above
glowing. Okay.
the top of Ufa's, like, top of his hair.
That might be his hair, actually. He's using a really good Azerothian product. Alright, there's Noble Sacrifice. Oh,
because he's worth it, right? Ariel? Because he's... Is it L'Oreal? Because he's worth it?
Yes, that's it. You're right. Ekop cannot believe he actually lost this game. He's still trying to defend himself, but it should be enough to go through because of Ragnaros specifically. But on the other hand, there are the spiders, so is that enough?
I think it is.
It is enough, yeah. Just attack with the 6/6 and the 6/5, and then you have 11. So Ekop is like, whoops, I guess that's it. Can Ostkaka find lethal on this lethal board?
And there's Keeper of Alderman as well. Let's top it off. Yep. And that's it. Ekop loses this game. A good matchup once again, and he falls to Ostkaka, clutching out this game on 3 health. I mean, man, that was so close. Things were looking so good for Ekop, but once that Challenger came down, and then the Tyrion came down after, it was so tough for Ekop to come back. Without, like you said, finding a Peddler, finding that Soulfire. So a 2-0 lead for Ostkaka so far.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. Like, both games he won versus Ekop were really close, and then like the game where Ekop had 6 patrons, right? Ostkaka being able to make that read first, and actually playing Big Game Hunter and Rubinek to be able to clear those patrons and put himself in a good situation, in a good position. And then this game where Ekop was really close to just winning the game, and Ostkaka just on the back of a 9-1. If he would, I think if Ekop would not go for Implosion but just slammed Lothar, then like earlier, he might have a way to deal with the situation where he would just Implosion the 9-1 or like 9 whatever that was and kill it. But the fact that I think he felt blood in a way, like he wanted to have more singular minions, and Lothar might have been a bit better there.
Yeah, potentially. It was a tough spot for Ekop. I mean, I don't think it was kind of black and white what he had to do in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of ways it could have went.
Exactly, especially because he had a Knife Juggler, so that situation promised a bit more damage from the Knife Juggler itself to push the board even further and deal that damage with Implosion. But now we are with the Druid versus Patron. What do you think about that matchup?
Well, a lot of Patron players probably feel it's a little bit in their favor, but Druids definitely don't struggle. Very much depends on that kind of explosive Patron turn on, say, 5 or 6. And Druid can't deal with it. But we're talking about Druid here. Probably the most consistent deck in Hearthstone right now. And they can just snag wins from anywhere.
Yeah, and I think Ostkaka has a really nice draw as well. He is able to play the Shade on turn 2 with the coin, and then on turn 3 he will be able to play Druid with a Claw. He is missing turn 4 for now, but still, versus Patron you want to have those minions on board. So even having those small 1/1s in the beginning and be able to chip armor is quite alright for him. On the other hand, Ekop, he has Frauding Berserker on turn 3, but other than that, he is missing cards, and he doesn't have Inner Rage yet.
Doesn't have a weapon as well, despite something he wants to hold on to. So, yeah, Frothing comes down, but Ostkaka now has Innovate Druid of the Claw if he chooses, and then turn 4's a little bit more awkward, but he might find something. He still has a Wrath as well, ready for those patrons.
He might even charge here, actually, like just get the Cat Druid and charge into the 2-4. 4-2 is not that easy to remove for patron, and on turn 4 you expect Deathspite, so Deathspite would still have to go into the 4-2. Yeah, and that Wrath for turn 4 is actually fine. Not even turn 4, like if he doesn't cast Wrath on turn 4, if there is no good target, he might just keep it as another tool to remove patrons.
I mean, another thing you could do here is Wrath the Frothing, use one of the 1/1s to clear it up. But I think I prefer getting a minion on board, especially a Druid of the Claw. And like you said, if he charges it, he deals with the Frothing Berserker, keeps a 4-2 on the board, which then Ekop has to answer with probably a weapon or maybe a slam, but he doesn't get the draw off the slam. So it looks like Ostkaka is going to take it easy, just go for the kind of clean removal there with the Wrath and the 1/1, and let Ekop kind of see what Ekop does before he starts investing Druid of the Claws.
Absolutely. Ekop doesn't pick up a weapon. A Deathspite here will be quite nice. Or even something like Fire War Axe, just to be able to kill the 1/1 and play the Courser.
He does set up a little taunt, so he does have something that will stop that 1/1 chipping away at him. Swipe gets picked up by Ostkaka, so that's just a clean kill on that Dread Corsair if he wants it. But what else could he potentially do? He could float 1 mana off an Innovate and do a Druid of the Claw. But then turn 5, he has the potential to Innovate Ancient of Law and draw 2 more cards. What would you prefer here?
I'm not against Swipe, because Swipe is mostly useless against patrons. But sometimes you can find spots to use it. So it's a hard call. I would not hate Innovating Druid of the Claw in the taunt form as well. Just to block the attack and then follow up with Druid of the Claw, then turn 6. Maybe find a way to trade your minions and use the Swipe, but Swipe here is absolutely fine. And just attack with the 1/1.
Yeah, a clean way to deal with it. Like you said, swipe can be useful, but it can also be quite clunky in this matchup. And it was just kind of a clean answer to that minion. And now an Armor Smith comes down with an armor up. Very slow turn for Ekop there. And Ostkaka now has the opportunity to innovate into Ancient of Law if he wants to draw those cards, or Adopt the Boom if he picked it up. So a lot of threatening plays can come from Ostkaka this turn. A 4/6 taunt, a 5/5 that draws cards. He has a lot of options available to him.
Absolutely. I think Ancient of Lore is quite tempting here because you want to draw the combo parts. Innervate will be important if you want to combo earlier, maybe. And Ostkaka is in a great shape this game, just being able to pressure Ekop. Alright, so he decides for the cat here. So he values the Innervate more to be able to maybe just Savage Roar at some point, at a key point. Ekop finally gets the Death's Bite after all those years.
It's a good time for it to show up, though. He can deal with that cat, and then the Whirlwind effect will allow him to execute the Shade. But Dr. Boom is going to be available next turn, so if he does want to clear that Shade, he won't be able to play Dr. Boom as well. So, again, things are not looking too great for Ekop as far as kind of consistency goes with his plays. He's had to float mana, he's had to just kind of play stuff he's finding, like he just had to play an Armor Smith and Armor Up. And Ostkaka on the other side has so many options, he can just do what he wants. Oh, I just fancy a Shredder right now. Oh, just innovate an Ancient of Law, I want to draw cards. There's so many things Ostkaka could do, where Ekop is just so limited to kind of one line of play, because his hand is not allowing him to do anything.
And it's so interesting that Druid has so many choices. Like normally Druid just slams the best card in hand and that's it. And now Ostkaka can decide what does he want to do. Playing more minions. Does he want to play more minions, especially because Ekop is getting lower and lower. Like he will attack for 7 this turn at least, which will put Ekop at 15. So he might even innervate a minion. All right, he decides to keep the innervate for a possible combo, because if he gets Savage Roar with Druid of the Claw in hand will be a lot of damage if any minions survive.
And now Ekop's at that magic number, 14.
Yeah, already.
That's a number you never want to be at when you're playing against Druid. And now he has to tank another 4 damage with clearing the Shredder. He doesn't clear all of it though, unless the 1/1 drops out. Nope. So that 3/1 is going to stick around. He does get the execute. And this is a turn where Ekop finally does something, makes some impact on the board. But Ostkaka may have answers. He may find the things he needs to deal with.
Oh, he has answers already. Like that free one was amazing for Ostkaka because now he can answer all the, well, not all the patrons, but all the patrons that matter. So he can run the free one into the free. He can kill the free 2 with the 2/4 and run the 4/4 into one of the free frees. And he's also really close to getting lethal here. So how much damage is it? Is he 1 damage off or something? 7.
Yeah, I think he's 1 damage off. So really close. The difference was 1 damage, and this patron board is dispatched fairly easily. Ekop does have a Dr. Boom to follow up, but you must be feeling pretty bad at this point. 10 health against the Druid. He's just dealt with one of your win conditions fairly easily.
And turn 9 is closer and closer.
At 10 health. What are those 2 cards sitting in his hand? That Ancient of Law has been sitting there for quite some time. If Ekop's been keeping note of that, and Emperor was picked up recently, so he may be thinking, is that Force of Nature? Is he that close to finding that combo? Is there anything else you can do other than slam Dr. Boom at this point?
If you go for Battle Rage, is that good? So you will draw 2 cards, and then you run your free one into 4/1, and you'll have 6 more mana to play whatever you want, and you can. If you go for Aqua, I think that's not enough. So I do agree Dr. Boom is the best play. If you're behind, it's probably better to just slam Dr. Boom this turn. But Battle Rage was super tempting as well.
If he had found a Whirlwind from his Battle Rage, he could have run the free one into the Keeper of the Grove, and then he could have played Patron and Whirlwinded and cleared the board. But that was banking on a Battle Rage, finding that Whirlwind. And there's a Savage Roar, so Ostkaka's very close to finishing this game. Draws 2 cards, another Ancient of Law, so he can dig even deeper next turn.
Oh
so,
man, yeah.
It's tough.
What can Ekop do then? Just Acolyte of Pain, draw some cards, that might be the answer. Like, overall, can he generate a big patron board and still maybe take this game somehow? If the bombs are good, maybe still survive if Ostkaka just has the Savage Roar in hand and doesn't pick up Force of Nature. That will not be enough damage. Find another Armor Smith. I think Ekop still has a slight chance to not lose, but Ostkaka is in an amazing position to win the game.
Ekop's just playing catch up. He's kind of just hoping that Ostkaka doesn't find that combo, and anything Ostkaka plays, he's gonna have to clear.
Yeah, that's true. Because
So-
Savage Roar is the biggest threat here if there are minions on board. Good news for Ekop is that double Druidic Claw is already gone, so nothing is charging at him, but double Force of Nature still sits in the deck.
Oh, he's going for the slam here, so he does need a boom bot
Oh wow.
to hit this Ancient of Law.
Can the Boombots actually do it? If they miss, that's it, right?
Oh, there we go.
Alright. Oh man, that was a close one.
Oh, and there you go, straight off the top.
Aww.
Taking a 3-0 win over Ekop, going into your grand finals. Very well played from Ostkaka. We saw some really good heads-up decision making from him, and poor Ekop will be going into the third, fourth place match.
Yeah, so Ekop still has one more match to play, which I don't know when will it happen, but maybe after the final, we'll see. But then Ostkaka played really well, and he just maybe this game it was a bit easier for him. It seemed like it because he just had an okay curve, he had good cards, and Ekop didn't have this punch, he didn't have the weapons. But the first game and the second game was really masterfully played, especially that comeback on a Paladin versus Zoo.
Ostkaka must have felt, oh, I'm actually playing from ahead now. I'm not behind like I've been on the previous two series. So, you know, he had like you said, he had a tough game against Ekop before, and he found the wins, very clutch wins, very good decision making. And then that game, he kind of just ran out of control. So it kind of like makes up for having such tough battles beforehand.
Absolutely. Alright guys, now we will prepare the players for the second match, which will be Pavel versus Thijs. And the winner will go to the final, the loser will go to the third place match to face Ekop. But just give us some time, we'll prepare the players and we'll be back in a short while.
touch Mac. Every time I touch Mac.
Explode the sunlight here, gentlemen. You explode the universe.
Every time I touch Mac.
Hi guys and welcome back to Hearthstone Champions League. This is Nimsh and I'm here with Ekop. Ostkaka just advanced to the final and now we're going to see Pavel versus Thijs. Who's gonna win?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, Ostkaka just clean sweeped Ekop, showing world champion performance there. And now we have Europe's champion versus Pavel, which is one of the bright stars of Hearthstone, kind of in Eastern Europe. A very young guy, had found a lot of success in his career already. So this should be a very intense match.
So Kel'Thuzad, aka Pavel, versus European champion, aka Thijs.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the cat yesterday. There is evidence he could be Kel'Thuzad.
Young Kel'Thuzad. I like it, I like it. I think he needs a nickname because his nickname is actually his name. So maybe Kel'Thuzad is his name and his nickname is Pavel. You know,
he's not the only player who taps into an animal to help him play his game. You know, Hoy is famous for having a little Pidgey on his shoulder when he plays. Pavel channels the power of the cat to win his Hearthstone games.
You're right. You know what? I just realized Thijs also has his name as his nickname. So, like, where are the nicknames overall?
These guys are far too serious for us, I think, Nimsh.
I guess, yeah, absolutely. So, Pavel versus Thijs. No nicknames. Zoo versus Rogue.
Which version of Zoo is Pavel playing? I think he was just playing the more yep. Double Doom Guard tells me that he's playing traditional Zoo, and that's two cards you don't want to find in your opening hand.
Well, remember yesterday he had this good opening, and then he was top decking Haunted Creepers. So I would say this is the Haunted Creeper Zoo. He has 4 copies of the card.
4 copies, maybe
Yeah,
even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he only has spiders. But this matchup, we discussed it a bit yesterday. We've seen it yesterday as well. Rogue versus Zoo, where I think when the Rogue has the coin, it has a slight advantage, and when it doesn't have the coin, it might struggle versus Zoo. What do you think about those hands, though?
Well, Double Doom Guard is a pain, but he does have things to play, at least. Maybe not some of the strongest stuff. You want to start off with like Knife Jugglers, Flame Imps, get those 3/2 bodies down, start putting some pressure. On the other hand, Thijs doesn't have the coin, which is usually a big deal. But these Haunted Creepers are a bit of a nuisance until, say, a Fan of Knives shows up.
Yeah, I do agree, but still, I think this turn, do you go for Backstab SI7, kill one of the spiders, and yeah, I guess
I think
you do.
so. Yeah, what else can you really do? Backstab the one spider, SI the token that comes from it, then Dagger the other one. You don't want to pop up on both spiders, there's just too many 1/1s to deal with at this point. But the free is a nice body, just what he needs at the moment, just something down on the board.
Absolutely. I think like the spider might be annoying, but still Thijs is an okay spot. And next turn, if he gets a spell, that would be a really good turn for him. And now Flame Imp doesn't do much yet, so Thijs still in an okay situation. Oh, Deadly Poison. Does it change anything? He will be able to kill the Flame Imp if he goes for Violet Teacher Prep Deadly Poison.
Generate some 1/1s as well, which is never a bad thing. You mean you want those minions down on board, because the way Zoo's going to win this is through board interaction. So the more creatures you can develop, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely, and normally I would be afraid of throwing away Deadly Poison. It's a very valuable card, especially because you can kill 2 creatures with it if you just have a fresh weapon. But he does have the Sludge Belcher in his hand, and then on turn 7, Dr. Boom. But if he doesn't use the Depoison this turn, I can understand that as well. You know, just attacking maybe into the flame with the 3/3. But I think Deadly Poison is much better overall.
Yeah, you generate so many minions on the board, which Pavel has to deal with just a spider. And like you said, you've got a Belcher coming up, so you've got some protection for turn 5. Dr. Boom on 7. And at the moment, Pavel's board is not very strong, but his hand is quite weak as well, so he does kind of capitalize on that. Mortal Coil will be able to clear up that 3/1 quite efficiently. He does find an Implosion, which he can't play, but maybe he can find use of it next turn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then there is also a couple of things that Thijs was able to achieve. He played around Defender Vargas, and Zoo doesn't have much removal with regards to the cards they're running. Something like an Implosion is a removal card, but it might not be effective there. Now Thijs needs to decide if he wants to go for Lothab or Sludge Belcher. There are certain advantages to both of them.
I quite like Sludge Belcher over Lothab at this point, because if Doomguard comes down, he's not going to have enough power on board to clear the whole Sludge Belcher. However, Lothab does block out Implosion, but I think Sludge Belcher overall is the better choice here, just to protect that Violet Teacher.
Yeah, I agree so too. On the other hand, if you play Lothab, you do block the Power Overwhelming, so it will be harder to kill the Teacher without that buff being available to you. But then the Doomguard, there is always a threat of a possible Doomguard happening.
I mean, the Belcher does protect you from Implosion, because he has no minions that can trade in as well. He does develop quite a nice board off of this Abusive with the Implosion. Thijs doesn't have the AoE he needs just yet, but maybe Azudrake can find him something. I don't think there's anything for 1 mana which will help him deal with all of this board, but I think Thijs is in a pretty comfortable spot.
Yeah, absolutely, especially because he has the Dr. Boom. And going for Lothab to maybe block any other Implosion, or... Like, do you go for Lothab because you've seen Implosion, or do you go for Azudrake? Like, you know, Implosion should not be a threat, like a second one. Maybe Power Overwhelming will be a threat to you, but what is better versus a possible Doomguard? Or,
I would say Lothab.
Okay.
Just thinking about it, you get the 5/5 body, so you get 2 extra stats. You block out a power overwhelming, or potentially another implosion, and you know what you're going to play next turn. You're going to play Dr. Boom next turn at this point with what you've got in your hand. So fishing for another card may not be necessary at this point, especially if you're just going to slam Boom next turn.
All right. So 2 good targets for Thijs. He has a 5/5, he has a 3/4. And then Pavel, if he decides to play Doomguard, and that is the moment where he has to do it, he will be able to clear, well, actually everything, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to clear everything on board. He does potentially discard his other Doomguard. Yep, it goes. Implosion does stay in hand, though, which is a little bit better than Direwolf Alpha at the moment. And he has a full board clear here, so not letting anything be oiled, which is always a good thing against these rogue decks. If this deck is even running oil, I don't remember seeing it from Thijs. This could be the more mid-rangey version of Oil Rogue. Well, Rogue in general, I guess.
I think when we see all right, so Violet Teacher can actually play in both, but I would assume this is oil. We would see Tomb Pillager already, probably, if this would not be an oil rogue. And I think yesterday he was actually playing oil.
Yeah, actually, he did play
Deadly
oil.
into oil. Yeah.
I mean, he's got Dr. Boom, which is kind of an inclusion that's been made recently, I've found, with these rogues. Dr. Boom kind of goes into Rogue, gets out of Rogue, gets back into Rogue. He kind of just bounces in and out. I find he never consistently stays in the deck.
Absolutely. It's just a personal preference card. But now Pavel has a couple of options. How much damage does he have overall? 6 plus 6, 12, plus 2, 14 damage. So that's a lot of damage, and you have to make a decision. Do you continue trading because your minions can be killed pretty easily? Or do you maybe hope the rogue doesn't have anything specific and will be forced to trade into your minions?
I think trading's fine at this point. I guess you can clear the boom bots first.
I think
Or...
Alright, yeah.
I don't know, do you even need to? If you're going to Implosion, you're going to make so many 1/1s. Maybe clear 1 boom bot, so he can't run 2 boom bots into the Doomguard. And then he can just leave this one up if he wants.
That's really good for Pavel. Well executed, there's still no AoE, but a simple Azure Drake into Fun of Knives would be pretty good. That's not fun though.
Yeah, that would have been brutal. Just find another Drake, but you can eviscerate the Doomguard at least. Slow things down for Pavel. But Pavel does have some reasonable responses. He can Argus his egg up and a 1/1. What else does he find? An Imp Gang Boss, that's another strong draw.
Oh, PO is nice to deal with Drake. What will be the best play? So PO and Nerubian Egg Imp Gang Boss? That's not bad.
Yeah, that seems pretty good. I mean, you're not under threat from any minions at this point, so there's no rush to get the Argus down. And then you can potentially Argus the Imp Gang Boss and the Egg, so find an extra, like a better target instead of just a 1/1 going forward. So things are looking pretty good for Pavel at this point.
There is a Flurry though. Does it change anything? Actually, Pavel played one of the most annoying minions with regards to what you can do. Okay, this is awkward. You can sap one of the targets maybe and then weapon up, or do you want to Flurry this turn?
I think sap's fine. You sap, you kill one of the 1/1s, you leave 2 power on board. Demand something else from Pavel, an abusive, an Argus, to clear this Drake. And if the Drake sticks around, you know, he's got the spell power buff. He has some pretty nice things going to the next turn. If he finds maybe a deadly poison, he may be able to clear up everything. But Direwolf Alpha is a brilliant pickup for him.
Yeah, it's really good. But there is some good news for Thijs though. He knows double Doomguard is out and 1 Power Overwhelming is out and double Implosion is out. So mostly no more spells for Pavel. Pavel will just have to use the minions to honestly slay Thijs with minion attacks. But obviously for now Thijs is a bit behind with what's on board.
Do you pop the egg open? I don't think you do. I think the egg offers a bit of insurance against stuff like Blade Flurry. at this point.
Blade Flare would need a weapon buff as well. So you might actually, considering that you don't have that many buffs in your deck, just try to have this fast push and kill the rogue before he draws the cards and locks you.
Okay. Do you go for the trade? Yeah, so you're just going for the 4/4.
Oh, there is a Tomb Pillager.
That's not going to be enough, unfortunately. What can Thijs do here? He can Blade Flurry to kill a 1/1.
So if he uses Backstab on a 2/2, he's still getting a lot of damage. Yeah, Blade Flurry is basically useless. So Tomb Pillager and Backstab the Direwolf, and he's taking how much damage? 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So just 2 damage. Something like an Abusive or Dark Iron Dwarf will finish at the second Defender of Argus. And that's a blank, I believe. That's a blank as well.
So Thijs is alive for one more turn, maybe a sprint into a couple of preps will get him back into the game. But right now, things are looking pretty bleak.
Oh
on
wow,
Thijs' side.
was that enough? Actually,
Oh, the dagger finished him
yeah,
off.
the dagger actually finished him. I thought he was too off, but that was enough. So Pavel knows how to count, not like us.
29 for sure, right?
Yeah, that was a good knife. If you look
Yeah.
at it.
Knife Juggler can be a big impact on deciding if you kill someone or if you win the board. It has a lot of power, that card, and there's been so many so many situations in Hearthstone I've seen where a Knife Juggler can decide the game.
Absolutely.
That's how much impact it has.
I know where I miscounted, by the way. I miscounted the Imp Gang Boss having being back to 2 attack after the wolf died, where it was actually buffed with Defender of Argus and having 3 attack. So, sorry for not being excited there for that knife juggle.
It's fine, honestly. So going into game number 2 here, Pavel has a 1-0 lead. Going to start off with his Druid against the Rogue again. So another one of those kind of interesting matchups. Thijs is on the coin this time, so he does have a slight edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another matchup where the coin, again, is really important for the rogue to have this slight advantage. And we talked about this a bit, but the rogue players, they say this is an okay matchup for the rogue, and the druid players say this is an okay matchup for the druid, which means this is probably just a 50-50.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Thijs, if you look at his hand, he has a coin into SI if he needs to deal with an aspirant. Probably won't see one from Pavel. They're not very popular at the moment. He does have that prep into sprints. Finds the second sprint, though. That's a little bit clunky.
Yeah, Thijs wasn't happy about that. You can see his face being concerned a bit. And for Pavel, let's evaluate that. So a Shade of Naxxramas is okay versus Rogue early because it can grow to like something like a 5/5 and not being killable by an AoE. Then he's missing that piloted Shredder, but he has a play on turn 4 anyway, and an Innervated Ancient of Lore on 5 will be really nice.
I think we're going to see a coin prep sprint from Thijs at this point, just to find some minions. I mean, the SI is good, but you kind of want to get something out of him from his combo effect. Here he might find a Teacher, he might find a Shredder, or a Tomb Pillager, depending on what he's running. But he just finds a bunch of spells again, and none of them are going to be able to do much at this point.
Yeah, Pavel, he gets another Keeper of the Grove, so he knows that if he needs to silence, he has it, and recognizes that he needs to develop the boards a bit with a second minion, just pushing the damage to get the Rogue as fast as possible to 14, to be able to catch the Rogue off guard before the Rogue wins the board and seals the game.
Yeah, another spell find to Thijs' hand here. He doesn't have the minions he needs to contest this. He might just have to expend some spells. This is not a bad play, actually, because you get a body down, you deal with the 2/4 at least, and now you've got something on board that can do some work. But yeah, lots of spells for Thijs at this point. An Innovate Ancient of Lore can come down now if Pavel chooses, drawing maybe closest like a combo, or maybe some more deadlier minions.
Is there any merit in Living Root's Keeper of the Grove, the 3/3? No, probably Ancient of Lore is better. Just putting a big 5/5 on board that's not easily killed by... Well, it can be killed by both minion and a weapon attack. but it still is 5 damage to face. So you ask your opponent, do you have a backstab? And you get better draws, quality draws, especially because Thijs did cast the sprint. So Thijs at the moment having a full hand, you would expect Thijs having like really good solid turns from the rogue.
Yeah, I don't think there's... You could go for the keeper Living Roots play, and then just kind of try and make Thijs waste some of his removal on that 2-4. Maybe an Eviscerate, maybe a Backstab to protect the 5-5, but it just seems like a golden opportunity to do this. But Pavel just goes for the Wild Growth into the Living Roots clear, and now he's probably hoping that Innovate can get more value later, and perhaps potentially with the combo.
Yeah, that was, I think, the best play actually from Pavel. You always want to keep clearing the minions from Rogue, and he was able to keep the keeper. But there was this one funny play where he could just innervate Force and Living Root's face, Force face, attack face with the Shade to assert dominance.
Yeah, just show Thijs that he's all business. He's not messing around. He's just going to take you down.
12 to face, just like that.
What can Thijs do here? This is kind of a tough turn. He doesn't have anything to activate the backstab to potentially like eviscerate into a big Van Cleef. Pavel, doing this line of play, hasn't offered a board for Thijs to interact with his spells in order to develop anything like a Van Cleef. So now he has to just drop the Falnos and the Van Cleef, making a 4-4 instead of potentially a 6-6, which is a lot better because it plays around Big Game Hunter and it's just a nice body.
He could potentially backstab the Falnos to be able to have a 6-6 Van Cleef, but it will probably be a waste, especially because backstab would be so good as combined with Eviscerate into a Druid of the Claw or whatever is being played. But now for Pavel, do you just go for Lore? Yeah, Lore is absolutely fine here. Drawing the cards. He had that Pilot to Shredder possibility with Innervate and Keeper of the Grove, but it wouldn't do much, and you do need to get rid of the spell damage.
Yeah, you never want to leave Falnos alive. I mean, leaving the Van Cleef can be a bit problematic as well, especially if Thijs had like a Prep and a Tinkers and a Blade Flurry, for example. But Pavel doesn't want to leave it up. He reveals the Shade, clearing up the Van Cleef, and just keeping that board clear, keeping dominance on the board, which is what the Druid wants to do. You never want to give these rogues a minion on board, just in case a big Tinker's play comes out.
Yeah, but this opens an opportunity for Thijs to just Fan of Knives and Eviscerate to clear the board. Can he somehow develop anything here also? Like play anything else like a minion? Not really.
No, I think you just need to clear at this point. You could have maybe found a Prep, but then the Prep wouldn't do much either because you don't have a minion to go with it. Next turn he has Dr. Boom, but Pavel also has Dr. Boom as well, so yeah. He gets a drop Boom first, which is a lot stronger.
Absolutely, and then sapping Dr. Boom is never fun. You want to kill it if possible, but is it possible to kill it and play something big on your side? Like, can you cannot basically play your own Boom into Boom fully. Like, you will have to at least kill the bombs because the threat of a Savage Roar is looming all the time. He can kill the bombs though with backstab weapon attack, but he goes for Azure Drake and a kill instead.
Yep, Azure Drake is a clean way to deal with it.
Backstab
and
Eviscerate would be nice, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want to leave. You just don't want to leave it up. Don't leave the Boom up. It's too much of a threat at this point. But the Druid's kind of getting into its stride now, where it just keeps dropping stuff, and Thijs had to play reactively. But the thing Thijs does have to his advantage is he does have kind of the cards he needs to keep Pavel at bay, at least a little bit. And maybe if he finds a Blade Flurry in the next few draws, Thijs might be able to do a massive swing turn from there.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a sap. So on turn 9, if he's able to sap a big minion and play his own Dr. Boom, that will be the turn he needs. But for now, he's absolutely behind, and Thijs is shaking his head. That bomb was really good for Pavel.
Do Azure Drakes ever survive Boom bots?
Not that I know of. Like, they mostly die. It seems like it's like catching the ball game with the dog. You catch the ball, you like throw the bomb in the air, and then Azure Drake is like, "Oh, I will catch it, and they catch it and explode.
And it always clears them. I very rarely see Azure Drake live through any kind of Boombot interaction. It's just got like a big crosshair on his head, which Boombot's just attracted to.
Absolutely. Probably because they shine so much.
Yeah, look at him, he's so sparkly, and Boombot's like, ooh, sparkles,
Is that
shiny
mark?
stuff.
Yeah. Target practice for Boombots. So what do you do here? You can slam Slash Belcher. Oh, there is a preparation actually. So now he can slam Dr. Boom and prep Sap. But does it save him? Does it solve this problematic board?
I mean, he could prep Fan, clear the Drake with a weapon, and then play Dr. Boom. He does leave the pile to Shredder up. I think that's what he's gonna go for.
Yeah, that's not bad because it deals with the bomb as well. And Pilot Shredder itself does not contest Dr. Boom.
Oh, that's even better. I think the Violet Teacher pickup was great there because now he can play Sap, generate a token. Did he miss the attack? Wait, he hit the wrong one with the Sap, right? Or is he double sapping? Wow.
Yeah, he's double sapping. But probably attacking the Azure Drake was better, so he probably messed that one up. Like he thought after the fact that he could have actually attacked into the Azure Drake instead of sapping it.
Although if he did attack into the Azure Drake, he would have run into Force of Nature double Savage Row. So that's something you should really play around all the time. It's not very. I say it's not very common, but I see it more than I'd like to.
It did happen at NA prelims, right? At some point, I think.
Oh yeah, it happens. It happens a lot more than I think anyone would like to see in this game. But yeah, I maybe that's potentially why he went for the double sap here. But he gets a nice clear with that flurry. The 2-3 does stay up, but being able to play Dr. Boom just into a 2-3 does make things good for Thijs. This is the moment Thijs has finally got the board back. Pavel's kind of had dominance all up until this point.
Yeah, Thijs is actually slowly coming back, and with the Sludge Belcher, he'll be able to block some damage in the future turns. Pinkers offers a lot of burst as well, and now Pavel cannot just easily go for phase because he doesn't even have the second part of the combo. So he needs to fish for that and find a way to actually deal with some part of this board at least.
No big game hunter either.
Yeah, it's super annoying for the Druid.
Yeah, that was a tough break. So now Sprint is available to him. 2 Eviscerates have been used, right?
Yeah, both Eviscerates have been used. I'm just thinking if there is a room to tinker this turn. But you do want to play Sludge Belcher, so maybe not necessarily. The bombs can be amazing overall.
Do you backstab maybe the 4-6 first before you start sending bombs into it?
I would think maybe about attacking into the 4-6 with Dr. Boom and then backstabbing the 4-4 and trying to attack the first bomb into 2-2. Or the first bomb into the 4-2 and try to snipe the 2-2 and the second bomb into the 4-2 as well.
Well, SI is a good pickup here to go with that Sprint on 10 mana. Like you said, he can clear the 4-6 with the Dr. Boom, backstab the 4-4. He has a guaranteed clear on that Azure Drake now from the SI. And, oh, wow, it didn't clear the Azure Drake. But you can still clear, Thijs. I know a little bit disappointed, but at least you have the clear. Yeah, it doesn't even finish it off.
Yeah, he was so mad about it.
It was unfortunate, but it wasn't like completely devastating. He still gets to clear off at least.
He is stressed. Like, this is the quarterfinals match. If he wins this, he will be guaranteed $3,500, and he will fight for the $5,000 in the final. We actually have a really good prize pool of $10,000 overall. So, and then he also wants to win. You know, this is a match versus Pavel, a very good opponent. So Thijs is determined. So is Pavel. Like, Pavel is not showing that many emotions, but I'm sure Pavel also really he's super focused in this game and really wants to win.
I mean, this will be Pavel's first major if he does go to the grand finals and beat Ostkaka. A big moment for his Hearthstone career, but it's also big for Thijs as well because he won the Curse Trials, and then to win this event shortly after, it just kind of tells the world, yeah, I'm still winning tournaments, guys. It's 2016. I'm just getting started.
Absolutely. So can Pavel actually find the Savage Roar somewhere in the future? How much damage is there for Thijs, by the way?
Not enough to kill at this point, especially without a Blade Flurry. I think the swipe, the Innovate was a great pickup there. Big Game Hunter would have been probably the next best thing or the best thing. But now Thijs has used a lot of his spells from the start of the game because he was very kind of like a spell heavy hand, and now he's fallen into his minions. This might actually play into Thijs' favor now because now the board is more even. He's got guaranteed minions that he can just drop back to back, and that might be what he needs to leverage the board overall.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Lothab and Slash Belcher, which means that Slash Belcher will stop Ancient of Lore and deal 3 damage to it, and then you can finish it off with SI7. Like this turn you can even go SI7 to face, and Lothab will stop any weird spells that can happen, and after that you'll have a pretty nice board. You might even go for Tomb Pillager instead, yeah, because it's like more power overall.
And, you know, the Sludge Belcher, the Lotheb's going to block out the spells, which is what you're worried about as far as damage is concerned. And the Sludge Belcher might have, is another defensive tool that you can use. So, although it seemed very nice to play them back to back, I think, like, spreading them out, using Lotheb as one defensive tool, then Sludge Belcher on another turn, is probably the best way you can stay around and not get taken out by, say, a Savage Roar combo.
Also, this sets up the kill really nice. Thijs doesn't have the kill yet, but if he gets something like a Flurry, then maybe with just Tinker landing on a correct target, he'll have plus 7, 10, 15 damage. And Flurry, if there is no armor up, no shapeshift, can actually finish the game, I think.
I think Pavel needs to consider now, can Thijs kill him next turn with a good Tinker's combo? Lotheb might be a play here, a defensive play, just to lock Thijs out of those spells. He does go for it, and now he needs to decide what he wants to trade with. Might trade into the 3-2 for value.
No,
although...
I think you need to... Oh, actually, you're right, because he played Lotheb. But then Pavel is still wondering, where are my Savage Roars? Have my
Right at the
cat
bottom.
actually edited my deck?
And a Blade Flurry is a great pickup for Thijs there, if the Lotheb hadn't come down. So, you know, being able to... Pavel playing that Lotheb defensively, I think, pays off a little bit. At least because he's not going to lose his whole board to a giant Tinker's combo. However, Thijs does have a lot of minions to play this turn.
Yeah, are you concerned about the combo next turn? You play Sludge Belcher, so you shouldn't be that concerned, but I think you still have to kill the 5-5. And then if you play Belcher, you have 5 mana open, you might just slam Violet Teacher. Or maybe Weapon up. Like, the problem with Violet Teacher is that it can actually summon a 1-1 that will get the Tinker buff. But still, it's like the biggest minion on the board. Alright, Farseer is a bit better there.
I was looking at Sludge Belcher, Violet Teacher, Coin Weapon, and
Coin
generate
is
an
for
extra
5.
token. Oh yes, Lotheb. He'd been cleared. He'd gone out of sight. I'd forgotten about him. But
Yeah.
yeah, that coin will come in handy though, especially as a combo activator for that Tinkers.
And now Pavel clears the board again, and there is still no Savage Roar for him. And Rogue is at 21. It's really close. It's really close. I wonder if, because the Violet Teacher is the last minion in Thijs' hand. That would be so funny. It's just Pavel goes for a different plan. He says, you know what? I don't have Savage Roar, and I don't need Savage Roar. I will just kill all the minions he plays, ever.
He's almost out of cards. Drake and Teacher may potentially be his last minions in his deck. And if Pavel clears them, how does Thijs win this?
You're right. He has some damage potential with that Deadly Poison and Tinker, but... if there is... What can he even draw? Like, Swipe can clear this board. Swipe and Force. What else is there? Savage Roar, obviously. Oh man, he got that Savage Roar. So, Pavel probably recognizes this, and he will just clear the minions and be like, alright Thijs, what do you have? What are the last cards in your hand? And you're taking damage at the very moment. That was actually an amazing game for Pavel.
Yeah, it was very close. I mean, Thijs had an opportunity to come back. Pavel changing his game plan. He was waiting for Savage Roar and recognizes that Thijs is probably out of minions at this point and just kind of grinding them out in the minion game. And I've seen Druids do this to Patron as well. just kind of grind at their minions. They won't have any minions left, and then the Druid just does what he wants. Thijs will stay in the game. He may be able to find a lethal if Pavel doesn't finish him the next. How many turns does he need to win this game?
He has 12 damage burst in hand, right? So he needs to get Pavel to 12. That's what he needs. The moment he gets Pavel to 12, he will win. But then if Pavel keeps shape-shifting,
He'll never get there.
yeah, exactly. And Pavel will play minions that will deal damage.
I think that's going to be it then. As long as Pavel keeps shape-shifting, there's not much more he can do at this point.
Such an excellent game. I think I haven't seen a game like that from the Druid. It's like Pavel played this Druid game because he didn't get a Savage Run opportunity to kill earlier. He put Thijs in a position where he just had like game like versus Warrior.
And then he just throws all the damage at him. And you're going to hero power once again just to keep him out of range. And this should be Thijs' last turn.
Yeah, and Thijs has 6 damage only. There is a Shapeshift, obviously, not enough, and taking 3 damage from fatigue. And that would be it for that game, which was pretty good, unless there is something from Shredder. Not really. Wow.
The Vitality Totem's not going to make a difference this time.
Pavel is Kel'Thuzad out, I'm telling you.
Pavel is taking a 2-0 lead over Thijs at this moment. Very strong play from both players. I mean, Thijs had a very spell-heavy hand going into that first, at the start of that game. He did pick up the minions later. And like you said, Pavel kind of changed his game plan. He's like, I'm not drawing Savage Row. I'll just grind him out into fatigue. And it worked out. It's not very often you see Druid do that. But Pavel, you know, having the experience and having the skills to recognize that game plan will get him a win.
Yeah, this only shows the depth of Hearthstone overall as a game and the skill of those players, where it's not just minion trading, it's understanding the strategy of the matchup. And now Pavel is left with his last deck, which is Freeze Mage, and Thijs taking the Druid instead. He wants to start with a good matchup for himself.
Yeah, just try and get that win with the Druid. This is one of the good matchups for the Druid. He does find low feb as well, which is kind of a key component in beating these Freeze Mages. Although it's not unwinnable for Freeze Mage. Freeze Mage can still find a win, but low feb is going to make things a lot more difficult.
So let's evaluate the hands. For Pavel, he was looking for Mad Scientist, Acolyte of Pain, maybe Arcane Intellect, something to draw cards. He did get a lot of burst instead. So,
yeah, he's finding the burst when he doesn't need it. You really want to find, like you said, Loot Hoarders, Mad Scientists, just to be able to contest the early pressure. But Thijs doesn't put on too much pressure at this point, although Innovate Ancient of Law or Innovate Doctor Boom is going to be pretty devastating for Pavel, but he does have Coin Frost Nova Doomsayer, so he does have a response to that.
yeah, and probably Thijs recognizes that as well, that it's possible to actually deal with that Dr. Boom. That's why he's going for the cards. He even gets the very important Keeper of the Grove that will be able to silence the Doomsayer. And I believe that this turn might not be the Doomsayer turn yet. But still, Thijs already has an answer. And that's why Druid is so good versus Freeze Mage. Because first, you have the Keepers for Doomsayers. Second, you have the Shapeshift that gives you armor, which makes it awkward for Mage to finish you after Alexstrasza. Because instead of 15, you mostly have 18 or even more health. And then the third thing is the combo, which obviously is good for in any matchup. But specifically versus Freeze Mage, you have those hidden opportunities to pop the Ice Block when the Mage really wants to keep it alive.
And the utility of the other cards, like Ancient of Law, can draw you cards to speed up your tempo, speed up things on the board. But only you can also heal with it as well. If you draw a bit later and you need to kind of sustain, the heal can come down. Druid of the Claw can charge as well, so you don't have to play it as a defensive minion. You can play it as a more aggressive minion, and that's again all these things kind of combined, especially with low feb as well. Just makes this matchup so good for the Druid.
Absolutely. And Pavel decides to go for the Nova Doomsayer not only because it deals with the board as it is right now, but also it would normally stop at turn 6. But there is another Keeper of the Grove and a very smart move to just play the one you draw into. This shows, hey, I top decked. I didn't have it, and maybe can actually irritate Pavel.
And then you kind of hide that you've had a keeper all along as well, which is always a good thing. So now Pavel might think, okay, he top dead that keeper, he had an answer then. If I have to go for another Doomsayer Frost Nova turn, he probably doesn't have the other one. So yeah, choosing which card you play from your hand can also be very important and kind of layer in mind games with your opponent.
If there is a Savage Roar, how much damage is that? Too much. So Pavel decides for that Frostbolt to stop the damage this turn at least. And then he actually has Blizzard into Flame Strike for the next couple of turns.
Do you Dr. Boom here? Or do you just Shredder? Or maybe take it slow?
I would not hate Shredder actually. Lothep to protect your board is smart.
You get an attack off with the Shade then if you drop the Lothab.
If you drop anything else in Lothab, you might just... Yeah, absolutely attack with the Shade. But if you drop anything else in Lothab, you give your opponent a chance to freeze your board. But then you might slam Lothab next turn after that to block the Flame Strike and get even more damage in. But I think Lothab here is absolutely fine.
The one advantage of playing Lothab here as well is that Pavel doesn't have any secrets down. So he doesn't have an ice block, he doesn't have an ice barrier at this point. He finds an ice block to his hand there. Can't play it because of Lothab. I'm forced to use his entire turn Ice Lance in. So now a tremendous amount of damage could have come from Thijs with a Savage Roar potentially.
Also a really good Ice Lance target. You cannot really unsilence this Shade to be able to attack with it.
That's true, unless you really want that 2 damage.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Lothab was protecting Ancient of Lore from being killed by Blizzard. So maybe that Ancient of Lore turn... Well, certainly that Ancient of Lore... that Lothab turn was the best where Thijs played it.
Savage Roar would have been beautiful there. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Thijs doesn't have it at the moment. So much pressure already on Pavel. No ice block down. Gonna have to go for the Blizzard here to try and just try and stay alive. However, we do have a silence and a swipe from Thijs next turn, so that's going to be it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He can silence Lothab, attack for 5, and then swipe for the kill.
And that just goes to show how powerful Druid is against the Mage. It's just kind of relentless pressure and utility which the Freeze Mage can't deal with. And a very convincing game for Thijs there. The easy match is out the way, and now he has kind of the harder work to do. He has the Rogue, and he has the Reno Lock as well.
Yeah, so I think Rogue is in favor of Freeze Mage. The question is Reno Lock. How good Reno Lock is versus Freeze Mage. And I think actually Reno Lock has a good advantage, a big advantage versus Freeze Mage.
Although I remember Thijs actually posting on his Twitter once saying that he was enjoying farming Reno Locks with Freeze Mage on ladder.
Oh, really?
So maybe he knows a secret in the matchup, which would give him an edge against it as well, because he understands the weaknesses and understands how he wins as a Freeze Mage against Reno. So I think that matchup might be a bit more even just based on Thijs' knowledge from what I've seen him on his Twitter account.
Absolutely, and that's probably also why he picked Rogue instead. He wants to go with the better matchup in his mind versus that Freeze Mage, instead of the Reno Lock, which he feels is a bit weaker.
So yeah, this Rogue may be able to snag a win here and tie the series up. But this time Pavel has kind of the cards he needs. He has that 2-1 to draw him a card. He has an Arcane Intellect to follow up. So if he finds stuff like Mad Scientist, maybe another Arcane Intellect, he'll have a better time than he did against the Druid, where he kind of withdraws. No early start, which is really problematic for Freeze Mage.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Thijs also got a decent hand. He got the coin and the SA7, so here he can easily kill the Loot Hoarder without taking any damage, and already has that minion on board. Then he can play another SA7 just to have some pressure. Oh, there's Mad Scientist for Pavel. That's another nice card. Not on this turn, I guess. You can go with... Oh, Doomsayer. Preemptive Doomsayer makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, just try to lock out the next turn. The Thijs...
I mean, how do you even kill it, right? Being a rogue.
Yeah, it's very tough for Rogue to deal with it on this turn. They need like a prep with something to go with it. Just goes to the Fan. Fan doesn't really have a lot of impact in this match. Just cycle the Fan, squeeze in free damage, and now Pavel can go for the Mad Scientist ping, or potentially Mad Scientist if he draws another one. But he goes to the Intellect. Actually, Intellect's probably better because you've got a clear board and you're not taking any damage at that point.
Yeah, that was really decent. And now Thijs has an awkward turn, which he can just slam SA7 without combo. It's like, alright, I'll just play my vanilla 3/3. I will try to pressure you with it.
And now Scientist does come down, and he plays the Ice Block, so he's going to get himself an Ice Barrier when that Scientist goes down. Finna's deck.
This game looks so tough for Thijs already, because Pavel has still like 3 freezes, so he can stall till Alexstrasza, and then after Alexstrasza he has 2 fireballs, which doesn't assert in the win yet. It's only 12 damage, but he's seen the whole rogue deck already. I think he only missed 1 card. Was 1 card he missed, or have you?
No, I think he played everything. Thijs has revealed the entire deck.
All right, so he knows there is no heal bot. The only thing that might be threatening a bit will be Lotheb. And without Lotheb, if he picks up 1 more removal card, he will be just set for the win.
It just needs a Frostbolt at this point to finish him off. No healing from Thijs. Apart from that Farseer, I think there was 1 Farseer we saw.
Oh yeah,
that's
you're right.
just that's not a lot of healing now.
It is some. It can actually save you, but not against the Pyroblast. So yeah, just freezes. Then more freezes. Alexstrasza on 9, you still have an Ice Block. And if an Ice Block stays, then you can have double Fireball and then Pyroblast.
Yeah, things are looking so good for Pavel right now. Like you said, he's kind of lined up a win condition already. He's going to gain more health from the next Ice Barrier that comes from that Mad Scientist. He needs about 4 or 5 turns. And with all that freeze, like you said, he's going to have him. It's going to be a very tough game for Thijs to win with a hand like that.
Yeah, but then there are options. So what Thijs needs to do, he needs to pop the block on Alexstrasza turn, and then hope that Pavel doesn't have that Frostbolt to kill him. Or even like pop the block and play Lotheb after Alexstrasza to force a second Ice Block, or just to force something, force a reaction. And then he can still find a small window of opportunity to kill Pavel between Alexstrasza and a certain lethal. But that will be definitely very hard.
Thijs is going to have to deal, 34 damage in 1 turn? If he doesn't do any damage this turn?
Yeah, basically. So what's the best
impossible.
play here? Big
I don't know.
Big Edwin, maybe.
A big Edwin would be great. It'd put a lot of pressure down. He looks like he's going to go for a Pillager. What could you prep with? You could weapon... Deadly Poison. Okay, so he's setting up a dagger for next turn, but the problem is for Thijs, this is way too slow.
Yeah.
He needed to do damage this turn and then pop the block next turn, like you said. Alex is going to come down. He could potentially pop the block in his next turn, but I don't think he can. Not without dealing with Alex at the same time.
You're right. Well, he can sap Alex, right? But then if you pop the block, the Alex can be replayed. And if you don't, you still are in trouble. And he really needed that Lotheb on this turn to be able to at least block the spells. If he doesn't play Lotheb, he's just getting Pyroblast to the face. And then he'll be in range for Fireball. Even if Lotheb comes down after that, Fireball still kills him. So it would have to be Lotheb and Farseer, which he doesn't have in hand at the moment. So what's the best play? Not knowing that you're almost dead.
Just trying to work out how much damage you can do altogether. I think it's about 27. Potentially more than that. He gets 10, 5, 6, gets a Blade Flurry. Actually, he can do a lot more than that. He may be able to... 27, 31. I think he has 31 damage altogether with the Eviscerate and the Blade Flurry.
17. That's 12 plus... Oh man, that's... I think that's not enough. Yeah, that's not enough to pop the block, which means that he's basically dead. And Alexstrasza doesn't even matter, just Pyroblast to the face. And then Pavel wins, whatever happens.
Yep, Pyroblast gonna come down. Lotheb could come down next turn, but the block hasn't been popped. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because the turn after Lotheb, he's just gonna Fireball.
Yeah, that's
win.
true. Pavel,
So, yeah.
there is no need to play around Chasm Mystic from Pavel's perspective. Like, he can make a safe play to do a Frostbolt, Fireball, Frostbolt, maybe Thalnos, Fireball.
Oh yeah, you can go found this fireball here. Doesn't need to invest a pyroblast just yet. This is super safe. We know there's no way Thijs can win this game at this point, but Pavel, making sure that there's just nothing's gonna come out and surprise him at this point.
No Chasm
Maybe
Mystic.
No Chasm Mystic. He knows there's no Chasm Mystic because he's seen the entire deck. But I like Pavel just being super safe at this point.
Yeah, I can understand that. Iceland's face to block the weapon attack. So he just makes sure that he will be in a good position. Like, even if there is a Farseer, whatever happens, that Pyroblast is winning the game. Like, even the Fireball, just the Fireball wins the game. Or maybe Pavel, just wants to win this game with Alexstrasza attack. Maybe that's his thing. That's not even a DM.
Great pleasure in Dragon smashing face.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I would love to finish the game like that and get to the final.
If it was Kibler playing, I would be on board with that. He would want to finish the game with a dragon.
Or maybe he wants to finish the game with Thalnos attack. He is Kel'Thuzad indeed.
Clear the 1-2 with the Alexstrasza, fireball face, and swing with the Thalnos for win.
Yes, exactly.
And then Thijs just backstabs the Thalnos, and then we see the rage in Pavel's eyes.
Yeah, but is there anything that Thijs can do? Not really. Like, even without the knowledge that there is something in the hand, assuming there is the mad scientist, and I don't even know what he can have, but he did his best. Thijs played really well, but Pavel is the victor here, and Pavel played exceptionally well. The Pyroblast finishing the game versus Thijs and advancing to the finals versus Ostkaka.
Ostkaka Pavel going to be your grand finals. One of those guys is going to walk away with $5,000. The other guy going to walk away with $3,500. So a lot of money to play for in that grand finals. I mean, $1,500 difference between first place and second place, but also kind of the winning a big tournament, being able to put that down on your accomplishments is also a big deal for these players. It's not just about the money, it's about winning events.
Absolutely, and I think Pavel was actually in the final of Geico tournament, or top 4, so he still is fighting and trying to get that one big major win, and especially on the back of the world champion, that will be the sweetest victory ever. But he's not there yet, he still has to win versus Kaka, but we'll have that match after the break, and then Ekop versus Thijs. I'm not exactly sure, or is it...
I think it's Ekop versus Thijs next.
Alright. So first the third place match, and then we'll go into Ostkaka versus Pavel. So give us just a moment to prepare the players, and then we'll be back after a short while.
This is it. Awesome.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearthstone Champions League. This is Nimsh and I'm here with Aqua Blood and we are going to witness an amazing match. Thijs, European champion and self-proclaimed best player in the world, Ekop.
Yep, and this is for the money now. $1,500 on the line when these players will be closing down their client with no money, and one of them will probably continue playing some Hearthstone, maybe some Overwatch, with $1,500 in their pocket.
Oh yeah, it's really good money, especially if you want to travel to the future DreamHacks or any LAN tournaments. It's always good to have that money to be able to make that travel. So for them, it's also about the pride. So Thijs was visibly upset playing versus Pavel. He felt like he maybe didn't have the draws he wanted, the matchups he wanted. So now versus Ekop, he'll try his best to take it as well.
Finds a Molten Giant in the opening hand. That's not too bad going against an aggressive deck. Demon Wrath, of course, that AoE, but doesn't affect those pesky little demons from Ekop. Anti-Healbot will be able to sustain him with Shadow Flame, being an AoE clear. But look at this, the dynamic duo themselves, Void Walker and Flame Imp, the classic of the zoo starts, I would say.
Yeah, the orange-blue contrast, right?
The orange and blue.
Yeah, it does
and this
work.
is a pain. This is a pain for Thijs. Have that in the start. Haunted Creeper coming down next potentially, unless he finds like a Knife Juggler, and a very strong start, a very aggressive start from Ekop. One that Demon Wrath doesn't do anything to really.
Exactly, it's like making the card almost dead. Like you Demon Wrath this board, and you put one more power because Haunted Creeper actually turns into two spiders. But just before we go into more discussion, Nick, I want to state that this matchup overall is very good for Reno Lock. It should be very good for Reno Lock.
You know, with those AoE clears, there's a very easy way to deal with a very board-centric deck like Zoo. The only issue Reno Lock does have is, because there's so many one-offs, you can be quite inconsistent in drawing those area effects clear, like Hellfire, Twisted Never, for example.
Absolutely.
But the one thing Ekop has now is he has so much pressure on board.
Yeah, Ekop has this one big chance right now. This was exactly the opening that you need versus Reno Lock, because even though it's a good matchup for Reno Lock, as you said, you can still lose if Zoo has a really explosive opening and you miss those really important cards. So I'm curious if Thijs will be able to come back and actually clear this board easier. So now he's thinking about Twilight Drake or Implosion. Implosion not only deals with 1 minion for sure, but also puts some power on board.
And it deals with a demon, which Demon Wrath can't clear at the moment. So maybe once he clears his Void Walker with one of the imps, he'll only be left with minions which are affected by Demon Wrath. And that will definitely be great for him because he'll get kind of a cheap AoE clear, and then Shadow Flame can maybe be used for something later.
Also, it's interesting to mention, I think, that because this matchup is so bad, Ekop will have to make more risks or more risky plays to maybe ignore the Molten Giant or hope there is no Reno to heal and overextend as well and hope there is no AoE to be able to grab this matchup and just to win this before Thijs gets those key cards.
And like you said, taking a risk now, he's going to just invest all that damage to the face, hoping there's no heal bots, no Renos. He does go for a couple of clears. Is he going to clear with the one? I
think it makes sense. Right now, the Reno decks, they play Power Overwhelming as well. So if you invest into killing the small minions, you do play around Power Overwhelming Shadow Flame, which he wasn't able to clear everything. So Power Overwhelming top deck would be pretty good, but he did play around Molten Giant Shadow Flame at least.
Although Molten Giant can come down with a Sun Fury Protector if he chooses. So
I like Demon Wrath, I think.
Demon Wrath as well. Yeah, don't clear the brand though. That's the only problem.
Yeah, but you do kill the spiders and 2/1s, and you can still play Molten Giant after that.
Oh, that's true. So yeah, I think that's fine. You're not expecting a lot of burst damage coming from Ekop at this point, simply because he's already played to Abusive. He only has 5 mana next turn, so even if he had a Dark Iron Dwarf, it wouldn't be enough to clear him out. So a kind of safe Molten Giant can come down here, and if Ekop invests too much into the board next turn, he has a potential Shadow Flame target, but he also has a good Sun Fury target as well.
Oh man, he wanted to play the Flame Imp, but 6 damage to face.
Fireball self. Doesn't feel good.
That was he might have to play it anyway. He is good on health, and that's a perfect minion with that Defender of Argus just buffing 2 targets with +2/+2.
Yeah, that's a good little board he's got there. But as we know, Thijs has a very good response to this in Shadow Flame. He may even find another way to deal with this board. Is there any other way you can do it without investing in Shadow Flame?
You can still go for Twilight Drake and Sun Fury. That's one of the options you have. Just building a bigger board. If you Shadow Flame, you're not developing anything. So I kind of like.
It's too slow.
Yeah. Even
I
not
prefer
taunting
this.
the giant.
That's not a bad idea either. I mean, depends how threatened you feel, I guess.
Alright, I guess at this point you do feel threatened. And if that would be like Power Overwhelming and Doomguard, that might have been lethal, right? So.
And this is a point of the game where Ekop is getting kind of grinded out, and it's going to be very hard for him to find a win. Double Power Overwhelming is definitely a card which will help him find that win, but unfortunately with this big taunt wall in front of him, it's going to be very tough to punch through this without investing some cards, or having some patience at least, and just trying to get a board down.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The numbers are quite weird for Ekop as well, because if you use Power Overwhelming, you will have to use both of them to clear one of the minions. Like the 5/4 clears the 8/4, but then like if you use double power, you will need to kill the 4/7 with the imp, and then they use second power on the 2/3 to kill the giant. After that, you can play Nerubian Egg, but it's like super slow, and you're losing that power that you actually need to win this game. But
Yeah, it looks like a bit of patience here from Ekop.
yeah,
Let's drop
absolutely.
the Knife Juggler hits. That doesn't make too much of a difference. I guess he could just clear out this. Oh, is he going to leave the Giant up? I guess the Giant does get cleared by the Knife Juggler, but the Sun Fury does deal with the Knife Juggler, and we do see a Dark Bomb in Thijs' hand, so he does have potential here for maybe Imp Gang boss Argus. Taunt up more, he can heal bot into Dark Bombs. A lot of
Silence.
different...
It's so good
Silence as well. There's a lot of different paths Thijs can go down here with his play.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we talked about. Even though it seems like the Zoo has a good opening, Reno Lock is built to win versus those kinds of decks, and with this play from Thijs, I think there's nothing that Ekop can draw to be able to win this game at this point. Especially looking at that healbot, he doesn't even need Reno. He has the kill next turn. Ekop needs to somehow survive, not die to those minions, and then still be able to pressure Thijs.
Oh, it hits for 4. If that hit for 2, that would have been devastating.
4, 6, plus 2, 8, 11. 1 damage off.
1 damage off, he can clear the board. He could just heal bot now and then just smoke face if he wants. Again, like a lot of different paths these decks can take. When you have so many one-offs in your deck, it creates a lot of different kind of possibilities when going forward. I guess you could just clear the imps and play it safe at this point. There's no rush to beat him, especially as we know Thijs is running the combo variation as well. Shadow Flame Imp. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, well, it did work perfectly. And with Defender of Argus, I think he seals this game. There's no ways you can go through the 3/4 and a 3/2. The only way I can see would be Dark Peddler into Soulfire, then Life Tap into Dark Peddler into Soulfire.
The most common of ways to deal with this, but yeah. He does try to stay alive here. Argus in Siphon Soul is the perfect answer there. Siphon Soul that imp away and just slam in the face. Taking the first game, Thijs beats the Warlock with his very own Warlock, the Reno Jackson version, and takes a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, Ekop disappointed that it slipped away from his fingers, but to be honest, like it was a really bad matchup to begin with, and even though he got that, let's say, god start for the Zoo, to be able to grab this game, Thijs still had a really decent hand himself to be able to protect himself, and he still even didn't play Reno. Like he didn't need the Reno. That was enough to win.
The one thing to consider with Ekop's lineup, of all the decks he's got, they all have a decent chance against Druid.
Yeah.
Now, Druid can win any match, in my opinion, with the right draws. It's not one that suffers from really lopsided matchups. But if there's one deck Ekop will be hoping to beat consistently with the decks he's got so far, is Druid. And that's not generally a great game plan, in my opinion. You never want to build a lineup against a deck that is known for consistency. You kind of want to target decks that have more lopsided matchups, but maybe that might be what Ekop needs and able to win this game, just getting the 3 good draws against that Druid and being able to win the series that way.
I think what Ekop is also targeting, like Druid is one of the decks that he actually has a good lineup against, but his lineup is also really good versus Secret Paladin, and that served him well during the group stages, and he was able to be here in the top 4 exactly because of that and his skills. But unfortunately for him, Thijs is actually not playing a Paladin, he's playing a Rogue instead.
Did Ekop use the same lineup? The exact same lineup?
I believe so, yeah. Definitely Patron and Tempo Mage. And yeah, exactly the same lineup.
So yeah, well, it did him find the group stage, like you said. He's definitely not out of this just yet. He does run the Patron into the Rogue. Now, how do you feel about this matchup? This is not something we get to see much anymore.
So I think this matchup was good for the Rogue. It was assumed to be good for the Rogue before the Warsong nerf. Some people argued because sometimes you just can combo out with Warsong, and after Warsong nerf, I think it got better for Rogue, because Rogue can just, when the patrons show up, like patrons are not the win condition anymore most of the times. Like as a Rogue, you just keep your Deadly Poison and Flurry, and you can deal with the patrons, and you still can fight really well for the early board to steal the tempo from the warrior. And deal a lot of damage with the burst. So I think the matchup is better for Rogue, but it's not like it's at maximum 60%. I would even say it's like 55% for the Rogue, 45% for the Patron.
I mean, the Patron can now play this kind of strong mid-range tempo game, which they didn't really play before when they were a more combo-centric deck. So that's one thing the Rogue can struggle with. The more sticky minions like the Shredder, they do have great answers to stuff like the Patron turns, but like you said, it's not a major win condition. It's one of the win conditions for Patron, but it's not the primary win condition. They do have Dr. Boo, they do have Grom these days. However, this is looking pretty good for Thijs so far. He does have a 3-5 down, which will generate 1-1s, but those 1-1s do not interact well with Patrons, but the Death Spite will be able to clear this up quite nicely.
Yeah, that's why it's pretty good for Ekop. Exactly what you want to have on turn 4. I'm pretty sad that it rotates out. It was a really good weapon for the last year almost. But I'm interested to see what people actually start bringing to the standard tournaments instead. That Death Spite is really good. It countered that Violet Teacher, and right now Thijs has nothing to play. Like no minion. Like even if you have a minion, it would still die to Death Spite. But having no minion is even worse.
Another issue he has as well is this Acolyte drawing multiple cards. He's going to give Ekop 2 cards regardless. He's going to give him 3 armor as well, so he had to invest the Backstab and the Fan just to clear the board. But this Death Spite is going to be held on to by Ekop, I can imagine, waiting for that minion to come down, and Thijs does have a Sludge Belcher next, so that does clear that up quite nicely.
Yeah, that's why Death Spite was one of the best cards as well, just killing almost every 5-drop that can be played without the loss. So is it Sludge Belcher still? The Sludge Belcher at least will block the Shredder from attacking with the 1-2 token. And then on turn 6, yeah, it doesn't look good for Thijs overall. It's really awkward. Like he would need to find something like like Preparation maybe on the next turn to be able to Azure Drake and sap something or Eviscerate. Ekop didn't find the Patience as well.
The one thing Ekop did find is a Battle Rage, though. He does have an option here to, say, clear the first part of the Belcher, finish off the 1-2. Does open his Shredder up to the Dagger, but he can draw 2 cards. If he really wants to kind of fish for cards, he can even Acolyte of Pain first and draw loads of cards. But it looks like he's just going to keep the Acolyte in hand, get some armor, and go for the Battle Rage off this time. What could he play for 2 mana after this, which would be effective?
Well, Battle Rage, right? Oh,
after the Battle Rage is resolved.
He can play a weapon. There is no weapon removal, so it's absolutely fine to have that weapon to be able to slam it on the next turn into something. By the way, like a small nostalgic thing, like behind Ekop there is a wall with a lot of WoW TCG playmats. They're like mouse pads, and they have a lot of Warcraft art with like Spectral Kitten, or there's a nice Orc Death Knight.
I did spot Van Cleef, if you look on the left
Yeah,
side.
there is a Van Cleef as well. Yeah, you're right.
I was quite curious to what they were. I saw Van Cleef, I was like, oh, is it like a Hearthstone poster? And then I started looking at the other arts, and I couldn't quite see what some of them were, so they all look like they belong to a set. So I kind of assumed maybe it was the WoW TCG. Yeah, that's quite a nice collection.
Alright, so back to the game. Ekop is in the lead for now. He still has Grommash available with Enrage, which is very important in this game. He'll be able to just deal 12 damage out of nowhere. So this turn, can he set up lethal in 2 turns? If he goes for something like a Shredder and Frothing, maybe killing the Azure Drake with Armor Smith and Weapon, that might be quite good.
Yeah, he has the Enraged Grom coming up as well. So how much damage? So that'll be the 1 hit from the weapon. So the Frothing will go up to 5. Then you have the Shredder as well. And the Enrage on Grom will put the Frothing up to 6. So
I think it's enough if there is just Dr. Boom being played. So basically, if he attacks into the minion now, Frothing goes to 5, and then Enrage is... I'll use his Enrage here instead of having it for Grom.
interesting. I think probably best to keep a hold of that Enrage for that Grom turn. Was it? It was definitely lethal, right?
Yeah. With Grom Enrage, it was lethal because Frothing would go to 5 this turn, and then with Enrage it would go to 6, and then it's 10 plus 12, 22, 25 with weapon attack.
I caught missing on opportunity there.
Well, if Dr. Boom is being played, is Dr. Boom the play though? Or can Thijs do something else?
What could he do? He could sap. SI, weapon clear, eviscerate. That's quite clean.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's a good answer there. 2 threats on board. So the lethal potential doesn't really matter ultimately, since Thijs had a nice answer to this board.
Yeah, it will be quite a lucky setup, right? Like, you set up lethal, that's not fully visible for your opponent yet, and you hope he plays Dr. Boom on 7 and does nothing with your board, but you're facing a rogue with, what, like 7 cards in hand? So there was a big potential that your board is getting hit anyway.
So we're going to see Loatheb and Acolyte. I don't know if I prefer maybe Shredder, Deathspite. I don't know. What do you play? What do you play next turn? I guess there's both ways fill up the mana curve, but at least Loatheb stops some removal from spell-wise at least. So he's gonna guarantee probably 5 damage next turn from that Loatheb alone.
Yeah, it's quite alright, especially because you want to Whirlwind passively. Whirlwind, you can Whirlwind execute, attack phase first, and Whirlwind execute, then Shredder. Or you don't even have to really Whirlwind. Like, you can run your Acolyte into 7/7, see what you draw, then execute, and then play maybe Deathspite and go 9 to face, play the Shredder, try to prepare the kill.
Yeah, I think I prefer that. Put a lot of pressure on board, do a lot of damage to the face as well, with that 9 damage coming in from the weapon and the Loatheb. And you have a stickier minion as well, so not only is this 5/5 body posing a big threat, so also at the 4/3 with the Death Rattle, so things are looking pretty good for Ekop at this point.
Yeah, they look amazing because not only he has just the weapon and Grom in hand to finish things off, if there is a Sludge Belcher showing up, he can also try to Whirlwind maybe and execute. If one minion survives, he will be able to go for the 1/2. If there are some heals, he still has minions on board, and after that sprint, Thijs cannot do much.
He doesn't really find anything he needs at this point. A sap would have been great. Another eviscerate would have been great. He does get the Fan of Knives from the prep. He may find that sap or that eviscerate he needs now. He eviscerates this, so you can clear the Loatheb. And also, 1 damage, Mana Addict.
Well, he's dead anyway, but he's doing his best. He's doing his best with like clearing this board, and also thinking Mana Addict is a tricky card here because Loatheb is an honest 5. You know it's 5, right? But with Mana Addict, he thinks that Ekop has lethal with just spells. So he's just shrugging there. But you know, it will be possible with the Mana Addict to give Ekop like a ninja lethal. If he will have like a whirlwind into Battle Rage, into Inner Rage, into Slam somewhere, then Mana Addict can actually just kill Thijs without Groan.
Yep. That card has a lot of potential, depending on what style of deck you're playing. I mean, in many minion-centric decks, which don't have a lot of spells, it doesn't have a huge impact. But like you said, with, say, a Patron Warrior or maybe an Oil Rogue, there's a lot of spells that can be used. So, yeah, you can, like I said, get a cheeky lethal there without them even realizing, just because of all the spells you have in your hand.
Absolutely. All right, so this is a tie, I believe. Yeah, it's 1-1, and now Ekop can finally play his Tempo Mage, a deck I'm really excited about because nobody else played it in the groups. Like, he was the only one to bring it, and he had a lot of success with it.
And now he goes into the Druid matchup as well, and this is where Tempo Mage can really shine. This is probably one of the worst matchups for Druid,
Absolutely.
I would say. Especially with a Mana Worm. I mean, Mana Worm is a huge part of the Tempo Mage deck. Getting that Mana Worm down straight away with a combination of spells and maybe a Sorcerer's Apprentice can be a bit too much for a Druid to deal with. But Thijs does have cards in his hand which can deal with stuff like Mana Worm. So Thijs hasn't got a bad opening.
Yeah, and Ekop actually just doesn't have the follow-up to the Mana Worm. This matchup is so good for Mage because there is not only the Mana Worm, but the Flame Cannon that can deal with the Shade or even a bigger minion like Ancient of Lore, like in the future of the game. But he can also have Mirror Entity, he can lock Druid with the Secrets, and put Druid in a really tricky spot. But right now, if Thijs just clears it with the Wrath, he positions himself perfectly. Is he going for Aspirant instead? Oh wow, that's also fine. I mean, if there is no spell, like from Thijs' perspective, if there is no spell, you can actually kill the Mana Wraith next turn with Shapeshift, but there is a spell for Ekop.
Yeah, Flame Cannon would have been very dangerous as well, and Frostbolt. I don't know if there was... I mean, I don't know if killing the Mana Worm straight away was more important. Just based on, you know, what a Mana Worm can do if it's left alone. If Ekop had the right answers, Flame Cannons, Frostbolts, it could have been pretty devastating for Thijs. But I guess he has time, right, on his side. It's only the beginning of the game, and Wrath can be used next turn.
Yeah, but I think like this Unstable Portal actually put Ekop in a worse position than Arcane Missiles. So drawing into that was a bit awkward for him. If he would go with Arcane Missiles, he'll be able to kill the Aspirant easily. And now he's just giving away the Worm, and Thijs has an opportunity to play Azure Drake with Innervate.
Yeah, you can answer Drake, and then you can just clear the Mana Worm, and then he has a 4/4 on the board. Still quite vulnerable to Flame Cannon. I guess that's the only issue. Could cycle the Wrath here if you wanted as well, but I like this. Get that 4/4 body down, see if Ekop has an answer.
Yeah, it's really good, and even if there is a Flame Cannon, which is probably the best answer, it's still off curve, so Ekop will just play the Flame Cannon and pass. And this will give Thijs an opportunity to play the Tempo BGH!
Wow, what a man. 4/2 on the board is pretty decent, I suppose. It clears a Flame Waker, it clears a Shredder, it clears an Azure Drake, so you know, that 4 power does challenge a lot of the Tempo Mage minions.
Yeah.
Does he have an answer to it?
To Tempo BGH? Or Azure Drake?
Azure Drake? No, it doesn't look like. What secret was that? I didn't quite see it go down.
I think that was Entity. I haven't seen it as well. By the way, if the BGH comes down, which is not terrible overall, especially if there is a Mirror Entity, you kind of want to play your worst minion. A BGH is one of those minions that you might consider playing. Then is the Force Tank in Ekop's hand is just waiting for its moment, right?
Yeah, if you play BGH now with that Force Tank, it's going to be brilliant. Going to have that Divine Shield. It's going to be not threatened by the Druid overall, just because the only hard removal they have is that BGH when it comes to those big minions. But Thijs goes for the Savage Road, trying to test for Counterspell first. So now he knows it's probably Mirror Entity, and maybe he can find a way to get around it. Maybe squeeze in a Wrath with another minion, but he's going to have to wait till turn 5 to do that with the BGH.
To be honest, Ekop was also playing duplicate at some point, so Thijs might assume that's possible.
Going for the cycle here. Oh, just a clean clear. Okay.
Alright, so that was the duplicate.
It is duplicate. That's not a bad minions duplicate. That's a lot of pressure in the long term.
You can raft this and draw a card. And you want to have a card because turn 5. But he also provides with instead to be able to play a 7-drop faster.
Oh wow, if this Force Tank comes down, it's going to work out really nicely for Thijs. Force Tank, if it comes down, you can BGH it, and then you can raft the BGH as well that comes from the Mirror Entity.
There is
Oh
another
wait,
entity.
the secret's gone. Sorry,
Yeah.
that question mark confused me. So it doesn't even matter now. So the big game hunter is going to find a lot of value if it does hit that Force Tank.
And if you're Ekop, you just have to slam it, right? Because there's only 3 cards in Thijs' hand. You have to assume there is no Big Game Hunter. Pilot.
And it's so good if it sticks around
Yeah.
for 5 mana.
Yeah. Like there's a good chance that it will never be answered. If there's no Big Game Hunter, you just get so much value. But on the other hand, like if you play it and then it's not answered, if Thijs has to go for face because you're already at 18, next turn you just play Piloted Shredder and you Flame Cannon and then just get the board back before turn 7, and you have a good you have an opportunity to just win right there. And Thijs is just laughing. It's like, oh, you have a tank.
Well, dwarves with shotguns deal with tanks quite easily, apparently.
Oh yeah, if you're on the hill and then just shoot it, divine shield doesn't matter.
So is he going to cycle now on the 1-2? Yep. So he's going to find some more cards to play in his future turns.
It's so awkward actually. Yeah, Ekop was like, obviously he had a Big Game Hunter, but it's so awkward that Ekop's at 14 and Thijs might just slaughter Ekop. Ekop has so many good cards, right? But Thijs just can continue dealing that damage. He has Swipe still. He has Force of Nature as well.
Yeah, he had a lot of damage potential in his hand for the future, and Ekop being so low
Just Force
will
face.
be devastating.
Go face.
Force face.
Yeah, like this is what you do. Like Ekop will be at 4. What?
And you
he
double
even do?
swipe.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, Lothep can stop you, right? But all right, he's going for Lothep instead. Come on, Force Face with more manly Thijs.
That's something Admirable would do. Just Force face. I've seen him do it before.
Yeah.
Just complete man mode. But Tyson's going for the safe play here. He knows he's got double swipe next turn. As long as one minion sticks around, he'll be able to finish him off. Not very common for these tempo mages to have taunts. Sometimes Mirror Entity. Dr. Boomer's green. It looks like he's gonna just play him and pray. Do you clear? If you get a Noyatron though, that will keep you around, right?
It will keep you alive, but or will it? Like you still have Force of Nature and a ping. So for 8 mana, you can basically shapeshift into Neutron, and still he will have lethal. But yeah, Dr. Boom was probably the best play there from Ekop's perspective because he was so behind. But Thijs is enough, obviously. Like he has 5 and everything, and Ekop really upset about this. That was his matchup. That was his best chance to win with this deck.
I think the story of Ekop's top 4 so far has been he's played into good matchups and not been able to find a win. He lost 2 good matchups against Ostkaka in the first round. So yeah, it's been pretty tough for him, this whole top 4 so far, not finding those wins where he needs them.
Absolutely. And now Thijs is down to his Rogue deck. And Rogue versus Tempo Mage should be alright for the Rogue.
Yeah, I think the Rogue will have a good match going into this. What else does Ekop have left?
Ekop,
Has he won a game yet?
yeah, he did win with. I think he won the first one, was it? But what was he using?
The Patron?
Yeah, he won with the Patron. So he still has the Zoo that lost to the Reno Lock, and he still has this Tempo Mage.
So Rogue has got to find 2 wins against his 2 aggressive decks. Not a lot of healing as well in this Rogue deck as we've seen. And Thijs has struggled a little bit with it in this tournament.
Yeah.
And I think it was the same in the preliminaries as well. I think Rogue was one of the decks which was kind of struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Rogue is this weird deck that people bring because on paper it has good matchups versus the lineups that people bring, and is a deck that can win versus Paladin. Overall, it has good matchups, but it whiffs like most of the time. Like you really need a coin, and a great player can pilot it and become the world champion sometimes. And sometimes you can just go 0-3 with it.
Yep, you can become the world champion, as Ostkaka did. I know Thijs is very close to becoming the world champion himself, Paladin Rogue. So Rogue is a deck that definitely benefits these kind of high skill players because you can make these plays which some people may not even see. And we've already seen Ostkaka do some fantastic plays today, not even with Rogue, just with other decks. So yeah, I'm looking at the start here. Thijs does have Backstab and SI. He does have Prep, so if you fancy an Eviscerate, you'll be able to slow down Ekop. But double Mana Worm, that is a brilliant start for Ekop. That's what you want to see as a Tempo Mage.
Oh yeah, it's double Mana Worm into Frostbolt. That's really big. And not only that, he had that coin, so Rogue didn't have the coin. Still, Thijs is having a really good opening anyway. Even without that coin, Prep, Eviscerate, SI7, Backstab. Like here he can just Backstab, Weapon up, and kill one of the worms. And then next turn he can just do the same thing and play SI7. And even kill a Mad Scientist maybe. Or whatever is being played.
Yeah, a lot of great cards for Thijs to deal with the pressure from Ekop at the start. I mean, back-to-back Mana Winds followed by a Frostbolt or a Mad Scientist is usually the god draw. But Thijs just has the answers to them, and it's not... This is the thing Rogue can do, though. This is one of the strengths of Rogues. It can actually deal with these very, sometimes unbeatable starts from very aggressive decks.
Yeah, especially with this hand. And if Thijs picks up something for turn 4, like a Violet Teacher or Tomb Pillager, Ekop might just concede there. It will be so tough. Like if Ekop goes for something like a Flame Waker, and then there's like Eviscerate into that Flame Waker with a big minion being played on the board at the same time.
You may get the free if that's Mirror Entity, right? Does it work in the same way as Fire Elemental with SI7?
I've seen it. So I guess it would be the duplicate that he got here.
So that tells Thijs a lot already about what he has down. That's a lot of information for him.
Well, Eviscerate is not ideal. Just weapon up.
No. Tomb Pillager would have been fantastic. Violet Teacher, of course. So, although Thijs had this very kind of explosive start to deal with the pressure from Ekop, he doesn't have anything to follow it up on turn 4. So that might be the breathing room Ekop needs now going forward in this game.
Oh man, that Teacher, if that would actually hit last turn. But still, this turn it's pretty good. If you go for it with Prep and Eviscerate. Thijs decided not to Prep Eviscerate.
I guess if you know that's duplicate now, you want to hit something with a little less value. Shredder's a good target for duplicate. Flame Wake is a good target for duplicate. So maybe if the Shredder does go into the Belcher and something weaker drops, he can just clear that out instead. And then Ekop doesn't get the value he needs. Wow, Keeper. Don't see that very often.
Yeah, Keeper is pretty good. Silence might be useful, or just damage and then a 2-4 minion. Quite unlucky for him to hit Belcher twice. And now Thijs has a lot of opportunities here. Violet Teacher into Prep, Eviscerate into Eviscerate.
So which is he going to give him? Is he going to give him the... I guess you give him the Flame Waker, right?
That's dangerous. I don't know if the... Flame Waker's... I agree with giving him a Shredder, because Shredder is 4 mana, so it's harder to play it. And then Flame Wakers can generate so much damage, and they can just steal your board out of nowhere. And with Shredders, you can always sub them. Ekop is disgusted by those Eviscerates.
Why does Thijs have everything? He just deals with anything I play. Ekop seem a bit frustrated, especially with the start Thijs had against that strong Mana Worm. And then Ekop's like, right, I've got the duplicate, I've got some stuff going on, make things awkward for him. Nah, he just deals with it.
Thijs for a moment, he looked like a boss. Like, when he was playing versus Pavel, and earlier when he was playing versus Ekop, he was concerned, he was like shaking his head. But then after that play, he was like, yeah, I've got this. Like, I've got this game, it's easy.
Another Flame Waker would be fantastic here, and with the Arcane Missiles, he can probably clear up a lot of these 1/1s. He still has an opportunity for another spell. They all miss. Alright, he gets the flame hits on the 1/1s, and now he needs to decide, does he want to drop a Scientist, or does he want to go for some more shots with the Flame Waker?
I guess you want to use Flame Waker when it's live, so to get a bit more value. But on the other hand, the Belcher can easily deal with it, so maybe just Get the value from ping. You can cast the portal later. And the portal actually fits the curve on the next turn. He will have 7 mana, so he can play Pilot Shredder. Or like portal first, see what he gets, and then Shredder and Keeper.
Unless Lofeb comes down,
True.
I guess. And then he just runes Ekop's perfect curve there. 5/5 coming down with no spell response. It's very strong. He can deal with this Flame Waker quite efficiently, just with the Teacher and the Weapon Charge. And then Ekop does have... He does have a Shredder, he does have a 1-cost Keeper, so he might be able to the double ping if he feels like this Teacher's going to get too out of hand. There's a lot of different ways Ekop can play next turn.
Yeah, but the problem is they are both playing tempo decks, and right now Ekop, even though he has more cards, he's losing on tempo. Thijs is the one attacking, and Ekop will be the one who has to defend himself. Where Thijs has a Blade Flurry as well. If he picks something like a weapon removal, he'll be in a very good shape. Like basically weapon buff, not removal. Weapon buff and then flurry this board. Oh man.
Speak of the devil. Can't get the combo though, which is a little unfortunate. You probably would have wanted that extra bit of damage, but can you ask for much more at this point?
Yeah, it's still 8 damage to face, and with your board it's 15 total. Unless you really want to clear whatever drops from Shredder.
Does he clear the Shredder first? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, it's good. Because if there is something like with stealth, you want to deal with it.
That actually affects Ekop more than Thijs at this point, but just getting the full clear is very nice here. And again, like you said, Thijs is in the lead here with the tempo. Ekop has all these cards in hand. Fireball might be a nice way just to answer this Lofeb at the moment. You can squeeze in a Shredder as well, which is really nice. So now Thijs is looking a little awkward. He needs a good top deck like a Sprint to kind of get back on board and get back in this game.
Yeah, Ekop still has a chance after the Blade Flurry top deck. This means that Thijs can deal 3 damage this turn, but we'll just have to rely on the top deck overall. And he did use double Eviscerate already. 1 Tinkers. With something like a second Tinkers or Deadly Poison, he will be able to squeeze in a bit more damage, but he himself is at 18.
I think he only runs 1 Tinkers in this deck. I think he cut one of the Tinkers with Dr. Boom. I don't remember seeing 2 Tinkers in the game against Pavel.
Oh,
and we saw his entire deck, so not even the Tinkers is a way out at the moment. He's going to need Deadly Poison probably, or just like sprint into Deadly Poison. Deadly Poison would definitely be great.
Ekop is taking advantage of this quiet turn from Thijs. Just Sorcerer's Apprentice into Arcane Intellect will be interesting, but then you can also go Unstable Portal. I think if you decide to go Portal, you go with Portal first. If he goes for Apprentice and then there is a Deadly Poison from Thijs, that will be quite deadly.
Deadly indeed. He does clear the board very efficiently here. Prep is such a whiff draw here. And this may be the end of Thijs' rogue run against this Tempo Mage. Without a sprint coming next turn, things are not looking good, as you can tell. He's just like, really? This is what happens when you play rogue, guys. Preps just pop up on the top, and you're just like,
Yeah, it's literally welcome to Rogueland. How much damage is it? Not enough yet, not enough. But with Arcane Intellect or a good portal, maybe Ekop can find that damage. That's 5 plus 10, 15. He needs 3 damage basically, like a Fireball, a second Frostbolt. Oh, I think that's it. With Fireball and the Frostbolt, that's it. So basically, that's why some people do not bring Rogue to tournaments. It can whiff, just like that.
and that's the worst way for it to whiff, right? Preps off the top. So this is a win for Ekop. He ties it up 2-2 going into the last game, and Ekop, look how stressed he looks. He's just like, wow, how did I win that?
Yeah, right? Like it seemed perfect for Thijs with the backstabs and SIs and big flurry. Maybe the fact that he actually went for the Shredder instead of going for face. Maybe that was the moment where... Well, you obviously cannot predict that you will whiff on the draws and you will get prepped into Blade Flurry, but maybe because he didn't have enough cards, it would give him a better chance to go for face, but it's not a misplay at all. It's obviously just a different line of play that will have maybe a different outcome depending on the card drawn.
But fortunately for Ekop, things went his way, and now into the final game of the third place match. One of these players is going to be winning $1,500, and Thijs starts off with the coin, which is a big part of this matchup for the row, getting that coin, be able to SI7 some of those earlier minions. But he doesn't have the SI7 yet. Do you hard mulligan for that card?
I'm thinking like you can definitely throw a Tomb Azure on Azure. I'm only thinking about keeping Fan of Knives being Thijs, because Fan of Knives is your best tool to respond to an implosion and a Joy card as well, or like to spiders and stuff. So keeping Fan of Knives makes sense, but on the other hand, Deadly Poison, SI7 might be more important for you. Backstab.
Yeah, Deadly
even.
Poison. Yeah, Backstab. Those are the key cards. Fan and Knives is an efficient way to deal with Implosion. You might keep hold of that just for that card. That card can be a bit of a nuisance. Oh, you keeps a I don't mind keeping the Pillager as well, because you just want to be able to play some bodies.
Alright.
Thijs' response then to his hand, like, why haven't I drawn an SI or even a Backstab just to deal with this stuff?
Yeah, but on the other hand, he might be happy about seeing the abusive. Oh, he gets a prep. Like overall, prep is really good versus aggro decks because you can do shenanigans like a free eviscerate or maybe a free blade flurry when you need it after playing a minion or before you play a minion. If you go for a big Edwin, Big Edwin is one of the strategies you can actually apply versus Zoo decks. We haven't seen Ironbeak, or have we seen Ironbeak from Ekop? There was one Ironbeak, I think.
I don't recall it, but I'm pretty sure you can squeeze in an Iron Beak in Zoo these days. There's so many silence targets throughout the meta. It's just one of those auto-includes and aggros, I think, just to deal with those taunts. But like you said, a big Van Cleef might be something Thijs can consider, depending on what his next card is. He might just draw a spell to go nicely with that prep, coin out the Van Cleef into like an 8/8 or something, and then Ekop has to deal with an 8/8, which is a bit of a nuisance for a deck that doesn't pack something like Big Game Hunter.
There was a game in the another qualifier in the group stages where I think Orange went for an 8/8 Van Cleef, but his opponent playing Zoo actually had a silence, and that was where the game ended.
I think I recall that as well. I was just kind of visualizing that match, and I can almost visualize Orange looking very upset to that. But yeah, he doesn't find the spell he needs to make the big Van Cleef, so the dagger's just going to come out here, clear that 2/1 up, and then potentially next turn he can find the spell he needs to make the big Van Cleef.
Even a Pillager should be alright next turn. If you cannot get a big Van Cleef, just go for the coin Pillager. You know you're going to get the coin back, and a 5/4 is still threatening enough for Zoo to do something about it. Unless the Ruby Egg, and then that might be troublesome.
Ruby Egg sets up a bit of insurance for Ekop in case there's any clears in the future, but you can also Powerful Whelm to activate it. And there's another prep. Preps have not been shown up at the wrong time for Thijs in the last two games.
Yeah, this is welcome to Rogueland. Dice was laughing like, what is this even? Do I prep a prep? Like
Prep, coin, Blade Flurry. Prep, Blade... He can't double Blade Flurry. He can make just the giant Van Cleef and just have a Pillager and a Falnos left in his hand.
Yeah. And this Pillager is just going to die to Power Overwhelming, so Ekop is nodding his head. It looked really bad last game, but suddenly, after winning that Mage game, he is in a really good position to take this one.
And he gets the Imp Boss as well, so curves out really nicely, clears the board, and has quite a threatening board of his own, so Thijs needs a good response to this, and right now preps are not going to do it.
Deadly Poison would be nice because he has a Thalnos. Eviscerate can stall the game a bit. Can he go for that Van Cleef with that Eviscerate drawn? So prep into Eviscerate, that's 2 spells, you kill the 4/4, what else do you do? You can drop Thalnos because you'll need card draw. Drop the coin. You'll have enough mana for Edwin, and I guess Edwin after that. You end up with a flare in your hand, and the prep in your hand, and Thalnos on board to draw some cards.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, you could go for that. That's quite a big Edwin coin. Yeah, coin Falnos, prep Eviscerate Edwin.
You might even attack into Voidwalker for 1, because when you do it, you prepare Flurry to clear Voidwalker next turn to be able to attack and connect with Edwin to face.
Is he going for the... Oh, he's going to clear the 2-4. Okay. Is he going for a flurry here? Into Coin Edward? Oh, he's going all in here, guys. This is the all-in play from Thijs. Mega Van Cleef going to come out. He's just like, what can I do with all these preps and coins?
Oh man, and Ekop is like, what?
Wow.
Okay, how?
Mega Van Cleef.
Well, he got Defender Vargas, so he can still stop it for a moment. But if Thijs gets something like a Deadly Poison, and he has 2 draws, this is ballsy. This is like, he is playing for 1,500, and he puts all the faith into that one Van Cleef.
Let's be fair though. How long can you wait around as Thijs at this point? With Ekop constantly playing minions, constantly drawing cards. If he decides to go down a tap route to kind of replenish his hand, I don't. If Thijs had like 2 more bad draws, he would have just been out of the game. I think Thijs went for a play that has potential to win in the game.
Absolutely.
I mean, Argus, of course, does stop him in his tracks. But if Argus wasn't there, things would look really kind of shaky for Ekop at this point.
Yeah, and now Ekop needs to race. How dangerous is Thalnos for him? He ignores Thalnos, he just goes for face. He knows he's racing.
SI, okay, that's not what you want to see at this point.
And actually, the fact that Thalnos survived will give a really good flurry to Thijs, and he will be able to connect to face.
And this is what he wanted. He's
Yeah.
going to be able to squeeze in the damage as well with the flurry, extra 1. Gets a clear. Ekop's reaction, like, really?
Yeah, the fact that Ekop didn't kill Edwin, I think it cost him the game. So not like Edwin, like the fact that he didn't kill Thalnos, but he gets Defender Vargas now.
Second Argus. Oh, man. Goes to the tap as well. Oh, so this Argus is going to be the decider where he can stay in this game.
There's a
And
Deadly Poison, so SI Deadly, and that's basically it. On the back of the big Edwin, the European champion takes the 3rd place in Hearthstone Champions League. Thijs is so happy. He cannot believe it. But honestly, Aqua, if he would kill that Thalnos,
it would have been different. It would have been a different game. A very different game. And it just goes to show how one decision can change everything. That one decision was the difference between 0 money and $1,500.
absolutely. I think he'll have nightmares about that Thalnos. He will dream about the game where he actually attacks this 1-1 with the Void Walker, because leaving spell damage on the rogue side can hurt you.
I can just imagine this dream of like the Voidwalker hitting the Falnos and then just dollars rain over Ekop. He's just looking in the sky with bliss in his eyes, like, look at all this money.
Like a pinata, right? Like basically, you hit it and it
Pinata of
explodes.
money falls on him as he kills the Falnos and secures the game. But well done to Thijs, you know, he made a very strong Van Cleef play, did the best he could with such a clunky hand, and manages to take 3rd place. So excellent game from both of them. I really enjoyed that series.
Yeah, that was amazing. And now, guys, we have one more match for you because we still have to crown our champion. Coming up next is Ostkaka, the world champion, versus Pavel from Russia, who is still hungry for his big tournament win, but a great player indeed, who has a really good chance to win versus Ostkaka in that final. So give us a couple of minutes and we'll be back with that match for you. Hi guys and welcome back to Hearthstone Champions League. My name is Nimsh and I'm here with Aquablood, and this is the grand final. Out of all the players we invited, only Ostkaka and Pavel are left.
One of these guys is going to be taking home $5,000. The other going to be taking home $3,500. And also one of them is going to be crowned Season 2 champion of the Hearthstone Champions League. So, a lot up for grabs here. Not just prize money, but the prestige of winning this event. So, yeah, I think Pavel is going to be hungry for this. But also Ostkaka, just to get another kind of major under his belt since winning the World Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like the fact that the world champion, the guy who actually went through all those rounds and took it, is again in the final. So Ostkaka is proving, like Fireball last year, he won the world championship and then he won many tournaments after that. He ended up in many finals. They are proving that they are worth the title, because getting title once is a great achievement, but then holding it for the whole year and winning other events as well, proving that Hearthstone is not random, it's all about skill, I'm the best in the world, is a great achievement.
Yeah, and Pavel is a player, a very good up-and-comer from Europe and Eastern European scene. One of the youngest pro players in Hearthstone, especially on Europe side, kind of like our very own Amnesiac. And he's been performing very well in end of 2015, going into 2016 now. And he starts off with a good matchup for himself, Freeze Mage versus the Secret Paladin. However, Ostkaka has a very great start.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I wonder what was Ostkaka thinking taking a Paladin to start with, but apparently Pavel did snipe that Paladin with Freeze Mage. He was bold enough to take it. Normally you would think that maybe he will not take the Freeze Mage for the first match because he will be afraid of the Druid being played by Ostkaka as the first deck to open, but he was bold enough to take that Freeze Mage into Paladin. And let's see, overall it's a great matchup for Freeze Mage. There are cases where Paladin can actually steal it, but it's what it is, it's just stealing it because this matchup is so right.
And I think Competitive Spirit's a good pickup for Ostkaka there, because right now, what he has on board isn't that threatening. But combine that board with Competitive Spirit and a Coghammer, or just another hero power, that board starts to become a little bit scary and represents a lot of damage over time. So this might actually force out a Frost Nova Doomsayer in the future once this Competitive Spirit pops.
Yeah, maybe even right now, because you can throw Nova Doomsayer this board, and if that's a Competitive Spirit, it will be absolutely wasted. But on the other hand, looking at this board is only 5 to 6 damage, which is not a lot. You're at 21 as Pavel, so you feel pretty confident. And this matchup is also good because for Freeze Mage, just looking at those minions without Competitive Spirit, they are not dealing that much damage. So sometimes you just do not have to throw your removal cards up in the air, because you're like, alright, I'll just take 6 damage next turn. That's fine. I have my ice barriers. I have my heal bot.
But this ain't 6 damage anymore. This is a lot more. This is pretty much double that. Gonna do 12 damage to the face. And now a board of 1/1s becomes incredibly threatening after that Competitive Spirit. And now Ostkaka doesn't have to commit much to the board until Pavel finds an answer to what's down already.
And that's the Frozen Nova Doomsayer. I wonder if there will be a Repentance. Ostkaka is not even playing it, but sometimes you can have those funny situations where there is Repentance, Doomsayer just gets 0/1, you kill it with a weapon.
Yeah, those are feel-bad moments for the Freeze Mage, but I think this is a great opportunity for Ostkaka, because he's invested a Frost Nova Doomsayer in 1/1s potentially. That's what they started out as. He had a very good value Competitive Spirit. His Spider's going to pop open and leave minions on the board. He'll still have a weapon. It does make this turn a little bit dead, but Pavel doesn't have a Forsen to follow up.
Yeah, he doesn't have it yet. He does have Antonidas, but he'll probably not be able to play it next turn. So for now, next turn for Pavel doesn't look that great, but he will have an empty board from Ostkaka's perspective. So maybe Antonidas is actually a play for the next turn. Just coin Antonidas at 5/7. Alright, almost an empty board.
Yeah, you could coin Antonidas. Quite a risky play, though. If Ostkaka has, say, a Blessing of Kings, it gets dealt with. Actually, be a little unfortunate.
I'm thinking because there are the spiders, maybe Mad Scientist and a ping might be a bit better.
Or is he going? He's just expended the coin.
All right,
Drops
he's
the
gonna play
Antonidas. Says Ostkaka, do you have an answer to this? Because if you don't, I'm going to start throwing fireballs.
Well, an answer would be what? Blessing of Kings, for example, right? Because that would be 5, 6, 7, 8 enough to kill him, but then it will still deal 5 damage to Ostkaka. And now Ostkaka is in a really tough spot. Like, he can just slam Mystish Challenger, but Pavel can generate fireballs. Or at least one fireball.
Yeah, you can throw one fireball. I guess that's the unfortunate situation of this Antonidas right now is he's only going to generate one extra fireball, but the Antonidas does pose a threat. He does slow down Ostkaka a little bit, and that might be what his intention was. Put something down on the board that Ostkaka will feel he needs to get rid of, and give him a bit more time to draw into what he needs.
Also, again, the secrets of the Ostkaka is playing. He had to play Redemption from hand, I believe, after this Mysterious Challenger. So he has Redemption from hand, Avenge, and Noble Sacrifice that he played before. So this means that one Noble Sacrifice is still in the deck, and Mysterious Challenger was only able to pull one secret.
So he could fireball the Challenger now. It would get Redemptioned. Avenge would go on one of the spiders, and then he could ping the sixth one.
Yeah.
And then he could hit. Well, he could even just leave the Noble Sack there. There's no reason for him to attack. He generates that extra fireball again, so he just recycles a fireball essentially. But this puts him in a really good spot where Antonidas is still a threat, and he still needs to answer it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But Antonidas can be answered with just a weapon attack and attack with the spiders. But still, if the weapon connects to Antonidas, that's 5 damage to face. And even if Antonidas dies, even the damage is not that important. The important part is that then Pavel is not taking damage from Ostkaka. He's still comfortable on 15.
He's just slowing him down, and I think that's what Antonidas' main role was being played that turn. Let's see if I can slow Ostkaka down a bit, force him to use those minions, use that weapon to clear my Antonidas, protect my health pool, and let me dig deeper into my deck. And so far, Antonidas has done a fantastic job. He's cleared a Challenger very cleanly, and he's slowed Ostkaka down. So this is opening up a lot of opportunities for Pavel to take this game. He has Alex ready. He has 2 fireballs ready. He only needs a little bit more to find a win.
Yeah, he still cannot do much on the next turn, but I guess on the next turn Pavel will be able to play Anti-Healbot and Mad Scientist, and he still draws a card. For Ostkaka though, what do? Do you just kill Antonidas and then slam Tyrion? Like, you know, this is Freeze Mage, so Tyrion is posing a threat still. Like, it can die to Fireball, but then you're getting a weapon. Alright, so Ostkaka decides that he really needs to get that Ice Block down and put Pavel low enough to prevent an Alex Straza being played on 9 with the Ice Block on.
Pyroblaster hand's a little slow. Probably would have rather the Frostbolt at this point, just to slow Ostkaka down. What could he do here? Flame Strike doesn't seem that great. Anti-Healbot heals him for 8, but a Scientist will also heal him for 8 as well through the Ice Barrier. But if the block gets popped, the Scientist is there ready to get another Ice block out, unless Ostkaka kills the Scientist first. So I think maybe just Anti-Healbot into the Scientist at this point, just to get a lot of sustain on your health pool.
Yeah, it should give him enough to be able to, and even attack with Antonidas maybe, to get rid of the... Oh, actually, not really. You probably want to attack into the Noble Sacrifice with the Mad Scientist. So now Ostkaka needs to pop the... Is it possible to pop the block with Blessing of Kings? That's 15. He's missing 1 damage. Oh, man.
If he gets a Knife Juggle off the Hero Power that hits face, he'll be able to pop the block, but a lot of minions on board is very risky, and of course Antonidas is still sitting there as a threat. He does have an opportunity to clear it at this point with just a Divine Shield and the 1/1, but Ostkaka's already kind of said that, you know, I need to pop the block at this point, and he looks like he's going to go for this knife.
That knife could have decided the game, but he did miss that. But yeah, oh man, if you pop the block this turn, then Pavel, can he really play Alex Straza if he gets Ice Barrier? Not really. Like, he'll have to start trading, and if you just pop the block right now and Pavel getting Ice Barrier from the Mad Scientist, it could have just won the game.
Well, there's going to be no ice block now. That's definitely going to be a ice barrier. And Ostkaka, not finding that dagger on the face, decides to take this opportunity to clear the Antonidas finally. I've never seen an Antonidas stay on the board so long.
Yeah. And Ostkaka still had a chance to take this game. That was amazing. But right now I think it's mostly over with Alexstrasza being able to reduce Ostkaka to 15. Oh, actually, not over yet. Ostkaka can pop the block this turn.
Yeah, I think Pavel might have to Flame Strike here.
How much damage?
Flame Strike does get a... Flame Strike clears most of the board. The only thing that will stick around will be the Sludge Belcher, right? Because he can...
1-2, actually. Oh no, there is the Noble Sacrifice still, right? So...
Oh, that's true. So Tyrion would stick around.
So you ping the Sludge Belcher, and then you Flame Strike, and then there is the 1-2, there is the 6-6. So there is 7 damage on the board. If Ostkaka gets like Blessing of Kings, you get 11, so you're still good. It's probably better than just slamming Alexstrasza, because specifically if you go for Alexstrasza, there's a good chance that the Ice Block will be popped. Like, you can risk it that there is no Blessing of Kings, but Pavel knows better. He makes a read that it's absolutely possible. Especially because of the sequencing from the last turn, I think that Ostkaka showed.
And of course, like, the killing Tyrion. Oh, double Blessing of Kings? Oh, really?
Wow.
Wow.
That was a good read by Pavel. But it doesn't, sadly for Ostkaka, it doesn't change anything yet, I think. Like, he cannot pop the block this turn. It's 15.
He's just out of range, not far off. And... yeah, but would you go for it at this point? Just kind of go all in? Or maybe just drop 1 Blessing of Kings on your token?
I think you have to, because it's like... it's not checkmate yet, but Ostkaka is just checking the ice block. And he is putting Pavel under pressure all the time to not give him an opportunity to play that Alexstrasza. Unless Pavel finds a Frostbolt. Because for now he doesn't have the kill yet. With just a double Fireball and Pyroblast, he'll need 2 turns. Or something like a second Frost Nova, maybe, to block the attacks, a freeze. But with this, he probably just needs to go... This is hard. Like, if he is in range of Ashbringer, and he's exactly at 5.
Yeah, clearing the Tyrion, well, clearing the board doesn't really do a lot, simply because the Ashbringer is going to pop the block regardless, so a very awkward situation for Pavel. He could go for some card draw, try and find that freeze, like you said, but if you do commit, say, like an Acolyte, it looks like he's going for the double Fireball, which I figured he would go for, but again, his block is still going to be popped.
Yeah, but this gives him actually a chance to just find something like an Ice Lance, or like whatever. Like, the Ice Block is getting popped for sure, but he has a couple of tools to be able to deal with the hero attack. And 5 health is still a lot. Like, Keeper of Ulduman and a 1/1 guy will not be able to pop the block if there's just a simple Ice Lance. And Pavel will have some draws. So an interesting game. Like, I didn't expect this game to go this way, for sure.
It was looking very much in Pavel's favor for a while, but some aggressive plays from Ostkaka, well, basically put him in the driver's seat for the win here. It's looking very close. Pavel's going to need to find something to keep him around, and he has to defensively Alexstrasza himself. So Antonidas is gone, and both Fireballs. So he's relying on Alex being able to stick around here and do some damage.
There is the Keeper of Ulduman, so Ostkaka will be able to deal with Alexstrasza, or just limit the damage a bit. Maybe he's still going for the Dome. How much damage is there? 11. If he goes into the free one with the 1/1, goes for face, and goes for Mysterious Challenger, there is still one more Noble Sacrifice in the deck, I believe. Because he played one before he actually played the card.
Yeah, I don't mind actually just ignoring this Alex at this point. Just swinging into the face. And again, putting more pressure on Pavel. What can Pavel find that could potentially win the game here? He needs a freeze effect. He needs something like a Frost Nova to just stall stuff, but that Ashbringer is still chipping away at him.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if he actually deals with this board, and Ashbringer can swing for 5 for one more swing, Paladin might not have the remaining burst. there is the Blessing of Kings is out. If you are able to deal with this board, like freeze it and maybe then remove it. So going for Acolyte and pinging an Acolyte makes sense.
He's going to go for the Loot Hoarder as well. I guess he's going to drop a freeze on these 2 minions, potentially. He needs to test the secret first. Noble Sack is what we're convinced it is.
Oh, he needs to act fast. This game is still winnable for Pavel, but it seems for now that... Oh, there's an ice block.
There's the ice block, so that's going to definitely help in the future. Okay, Frostbolt and then Ice Lance, a 6/6.
Oh, wow. He is taking a gamble here, but what can actually buff those minions? Double Blessing of Kings is out. Lothab is really good, but he's like staying in one. And he knows weapon will never attack him.
So he has no fear of a weapon attack, no fear of a True Silver. Consecration.
Juggler, possibly. Consecration would be lethal. Knife, but Consecration is not common in Paladin decks, and I don't think we've seen one from Ostkaka. A second Knife Juggler would be possible, and a knife hitting that 25%.
But Ostkaka didn't have that lucky knife earlier, so again, it's still a big gamble with Knife Juggler to get the win.
Yeah,
and Pavel
think about the
represents
courage,
lethal.
right? Like, think about the courage from Pavel. Just, I can be at 1 health. I'm good. Like, you have 9 power on board. I have 10 health. I'm alive.
Lotheb's going to make things awkward because he wants to line up the Pyroblast for the win next turn with the minions he has on board. He wants to force trades, but Lotheb is probably going to force an ice block for next turn.
Which is fine, I think, especially because some minions are going to connect to face, and the ice block is going to be 8. So I think with that... Oh, no Lotheb. So that's still not it, but he can just slam ice block, go 4 to face. Oh, actually, Lotheb can block the Pyroblast for the next turn, and he can still pop the block.
Smart play from Ostkaka there. I wonder if he was thinking about that. So if he has Pyro, he's seen 2 Fireballs, he's seen... definitely seen a Frostbolt, definitely seen an Ice Lance. So if Pyro is his only out, he knows he can't be taken out this turn. Again, being left on 1, much like Pavel did the same to Ostkaka, so very smart play from Ostkaka there.
That is crazy good. That is such a great read. He basically knew that Pavel is sitting on that Pyroblast. And now he pops the block, seals the Pyroblast, and Pavel will have to... 1 block was already popped, right?
Yes, this is the last one.
Yeah, this is the last one. So Pavel needs to top deck something like an Ice Barrier, I think. But it still might be too much power on board after playing Lothab, especially because Ostkaka can deal with those minions. And Pavel is just so upset about this.
Wow. That was a fantastic play from Ostkaka there.
Goodness, he got a Frost Nova, but there's still a weapon, so he cannot do everything he wants, and Ostkaka just brilliantly kept that weapon. Checkmate, well done, indeed.
What an intense game. That was so back and forth. Ostkaka showing a bit of patience that Lothab ultimately won him the game there and takes a 1-0 lead over Pavel, but Pavel's showing that he can go head-to-head with the world champion here. He was very close to winning, so we've got an intense series coming up.
Absolutely. I'm so amazed by the play by both of them, and just Pavel staying at 1, making the reads, and then Ostkaka giving himself a chance first with the juggle, and then just making perfect plays with using that weapon, pushing when it was important to, not letting Pavel play the Alex Straza, just checkmating him all the time, and then with that Lothab into Pyroblast. Not playing it where you would think just slamming Lothab on that board to protect the board on one hand and just giving yourself a chance would be an obvious thing to do, but then keeping the Lothab and realizing, oh wow, he just cannot kill him next turn, just pops the block and wins.
Another thing to consider as well is Ostkaka left an Antonidas on board for about 3 turns. He just ignored it.
Yes.
And I mean, Antonidas, usually when that guy comes down, he has a big target on his back, and you just want to take him out, but Ostkaka recognized that Antonidas was not as much as a threat. He needed to pop that block as soon as possible, and that made Pavel play kind of like non-spells, like the heal bot. He played the scientist as well, so he didn't get any value out of that Antonidas, and then Ostkaka chose the moment which was right for him to clear the Antonida. So again, excellent play from Ostkaka there.
Yeah, I think like I would simply say like this game that we just watched can go down in history. I feel like I really want to feature this game somewhere and show it to people. When someone asks me, can you point me to the really intense game, a really high skill level game where people had a lot of decisions and the decisions mattered on board and they did influence the win, I'll be like, sure, watch the finals of Hearthstone Champions League, Ostkaka versus Pavel, Paladin versus Freeze Mage game, and get your mind blown.
That was such a high-level match between two very talented players. Both players showed a lot of presence of mind going into that game of what they had to do to win. Ostkaka especially, making some very high-level decisions in this game. But not only in this game, in his game against Ekop as well. If you guys missed that, you should definitely check that out. Ostkaka doing some very, very amazing stuff there. Getting a 3-0 win over Ekop. So Ostkaka definitely showing his stuff as the world champion at the moment.
And the best part is, this is just the beginning of the finals. This was the first game, and we have a couple games more after this, so I'm super excited to see what will happen. I really want to see the Zoo versus Zoo game, actually, because mostly Zoo versus Zoo can be really intense with minions trading and who gets an advantage on board and when. Very intricate. It can seem weird from one point if there is a snowball from one player. But on this level, if they get similar hands, that would be super intense.
Another thing to consider as well is the two different types of zoo. Ostkaka's running the zoo lock that was very popular in the American preliminaries on the weekend, and Pavel's running the more traditional zoo with the Doom Guards. So that zoo mirror is going to be a very intricate matchup anyway, because they're two very different styles. And speaking of mirrors, we have the classic Druid mirror.
Yeah, the classic Druid mirror, which a lot of people say is a coin flip, and I believe it is in fact a coin flip. It's just really similar decks, not many differences. The key is to ramp and actually get tempo plays, because the player who starts attacking face and can get that tempo advantage. There was a small Paladin secret for Ostkaka, but disappeared for now.
The best Druid mirrors I find are the mirrors where each player doesn't get ramp, and it becomes a very honest game on board. When one player gets the ramp and the other player doesn't, it can very much snowball out of control for the player with the ramp. So when these players have to match each other evenly, that's when the game gets more interesting, I find.
Yeah, I do agree with you. But sometimes I've seen games where one player got ramp and the other was forced to make weird plays, and it actually worked for him. By the way, Weblord, most of the time is useless versus Druid. Most of the cards from the Druid side do not have Battlecry. They do have Choose, which is not affected. So we can see in Ostkaka's sense, only Lotheb is affected by the Weblord.
And it's not going to matter at this point, especially if that Shredder gets an opportunity to clear the Weblord in time for that Lotheb to come down. As for the Shredder, there is a Keeper that could silence or even ping it. So there's a few options there. What do you prefer here, the silence or the ping?
I think you do ping. I know I'm saying it after the fact. Oh man. Yeah, but I would prefer that specifically because you hope your opponent gets a 1-1 and you keep your shade overall, and then you're in a better situation there. But Doomsayer.
Let's go back to that Doomsayer. How much of an impact did that have for Ostkaka? Like, he just cleared Pavel's board without really doing much. He doesn't have a brilliant follow-up play. He has a Keeper of the Grove. He decides to go for Living Roots. But wow, that was terrible for Pavel. Considering looking at his hand, he doesn't have any minions to follow up right now.
Yeah, it was very unlucky because Shade of Naxxramas is one of those cards early in the Druid versus Druid that can kill something like Druid of the Claw later in the game. And so you really need your Shade to grow as much as possible. Losing it this early is kind of like a backstab.
And a very slow response from Pavel, then drawing another Wrath. So not drawing that minion he wanted to develop. And then Lotheb can get slammed down. You can innovate Keeper of Law, Ancient of Law, and get some cards. But he does keep hold of the innovate just in case he gets the double combo. So yeah, things are looking pretty tough.
Oh man, Pavel was lucky to get that Pilot Shredder. Without that, he will be in real trouble. A preemptive attack on Lotheb is possible here. Yeah, he does that to be able to contest Lothar with the Shredder. That's a really nice play that a lot of pro players do, and I've seen a lot of other players actually missing.
But Silence Wrath is just a perfect response. Clears that minion right up, and Lofab is going to stick around for a little bit. Might see a swipe from Pavel, but Ancient of Law is looking too tempting. And what a clunky hand at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite tough, especially because he is losing on tempo. Even though he was able to clear the board, Ostkaka is the one who is going to play the minion now, and then Pavel needs to react. Ostkaka can get faster to the Force of Nature Savager as well, because he will be drawing the cards first. So a really tough situation where Pavel is just playing from behind and is overall behind on health and cards.
What do you think has more influence here? The Shredder in the Shade or the Ancient of Law?
So Shredder in the Shade, yeah, it's probably better. You want to let your Shade grow, and you don't really need cards in hand at the moment.
The Ancient of Law might actually replenish Pavel's hand here. Maybe he'll find some minions. Does find a Lothar, so that can come down a little bit later. However, there is a response to this Ancient of Law. Innovate into swipe. A perfect clear up if he wants to, and it looks like he's going to go for it. And now this board is looking very dangerous from Ostkaka.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough to come back from this, and Druid doesn't have many comeback mechanisms. There is this swipe and Living Roots, or maybe Force of Nature and Living Roots that can help clear this board somehow. But it's still playing from behind, and you know your opponent has Force of Nature. You know your opponent has Druids of the Claw, or even a simple Dr. Boom that can overpower you easily.
Swipe, I think it's going to have to come down with that Living Roots just to clear up the Shade and the Drake. He will leave the 4-3 on board, so it's very close to lethal. However, if Ostkaka does play Dr. Boom next turn, Big Game Hunter might be the swing he needs to kind of maybe get back into this game, but I don't think Ostkaka is going to go for that.
Yeah.
Okay, he pops a Shredder first.
Seems like he was going for a Doomsayer. Hoped for a second Doomsayer there.
A second Doomsayer, that's very ambitious, Pavel.
Well, you know, he is so behind that he has to make those tough choices. I was trying to get 1 damage on the Treants. Alright, that's something. He's not dead yet, but pretty soon. And even with the Dr. Boom being sniped by the Big Game Hunter, Ostkaka doesn't really have to play Dr. Boom. He might just Ancient of Lore and draw cards.
Ancient of Law in the Shade seems pretty nice. Plays around Big Game Hunter. Puts 2 threats down, which Pavel will have to have very specific answers for. Although he could just slam Dr. Boom, like you said, those Boom bots pose enough of a threat on their own. However, I do like the Ancient of Law here. Just play around that Big Game Hunter and try and secure this win next turn.
And Pavel concedes. He knows there is no coming back from this. There was no way to clear this board. So Ostkaka taking the lead 2-0 versus Pavel. He just needs to win with the Zoo deck. But there is a Freeze Mage. Zoo will be good versus Druid, but Druid still has a chance to win versus Zoo if he gets a good hand. Freeze Mage versus Zoo is a great match. And then the last deck for Pavel was Palad. No, it was a Zoo of his own. Alright, so, well, I don't want to be a Doomsayer here, but Ostkaka has a really good chance to win this.
Yeah, Ostkaka could 3-0, taking a 6-0 final in the last 2 games of this tournament, which would be a big testament to his title as world champion. However, Pavel is definitely a player who can take games off Ostkaka. I think he showed a very strong performance against Thijs as well as against Orange. So I believe Pavel can definitely take this. And with this hand, this is definitely a hand you want to have against Zoo. Early stuff, you got some freeze, you got some card draw, you got some heal. So a bit of everything you need to fight a Zoo player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the match is not over till it's over, and Pavel still has a chance to take the whole match. A reverse sweep would be even more impressive than just, a head-to-head battle. So Freeze Mage definitely has a good matchup versus Zoo, and I believe Pavel will take this without problems. If Ostkaka takes this game, Zoo versus Freeze Mage, that demands even more respect.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is a bad matchup, but we saw Ostkaka win 2 bad matchups against Ekop. So he has done it in this tournament, and he has done it today. So, I'm pretty convinced he could do it again if he wants to.
And honestly, this version of Zoo might be even better versus Freeze Mage. Like, it's still a bad matchup, I feel, but the fact that you're having Sea Giants and... have we seen Enhanced Mechano from Ostkaka? I think we had. He still has Gormok, so he might have enough burst and big creatures to actually be problematic for the Freeze Mage on those key turns.
And let's not forget Leroy.
Yeah, exactly. That's look at his hand. Like, he already has PO Soulfire.
That's a lot of burst damage already. He just needs a Leroy to back that up, and then he has tremendous reach with this deck. Something Zoo hasn't had in its history. Being able to do a lot of burst damage from hand outside of, say, a PO on a minion and a Doom Guard. So, yeah, this is pretty dangerous for Pavel already, but his hand is pretty decent. Like I said, he has a bit of everything he needs to stay in this game. But Ostkaka has another egg, AoE insurance, those AoE clears, pop up with eggs and leave 4/4s on the board. And you never want to leave 4/4s on the board when you do those clears.
Do you like the second Nerubian Egg, or do you like the life tap? Because sometimes Nerubian Eggs can be not that useful for you, mostly because it just takes the spot on the board. And if your opponent goes for the freezes, sometimes you just have many minions on board, but you only deal 4 to 6 damage. So Freeze Mage doesn't even need to freeze your board or do anything. He's like, fine, just attack me for those slow numbers or low numbers.
I think it's fine keeping the egg in your hand, because you have an egg out, so if a blizzard does come down next turn, it'll pop the 1 egg. And like you said, it doesn't take too much space on the board at that point, and once that egg has been popped, you can drop another egg, so it kind of gives you insurance once again. Low Feb to Ostkaka's hand is a big card. He can lock out a freeze turn or a flame strike turn, and be able to push even more aggressively with damage and an owl. So he has 2 of the key cards that can really put Freeze Mage into a state of misery, because those cards can be devastating in their plans of clearing the board.
Yeah, I think I would easily say that his hand at the moment with all the 5 cards are really good versus Freeze Mage. All those cards are a threat. Burst, Spell Lock, Silence, and a big dude. That's great.
How'd you go about this turn? Forestun is definitely a threat you want to get rid of. However, we've seen Ostkaka ignore these kind of invisible taunt minions before. I think Forostun's a bigger threat than Antonidas at this point.
Yeah, probably it is, especially because you will be going lower. I would like seeing a Sea Giant here overall to have a big threat and force a freeze from your opponent that you can actually do something about, and definitely clearing some part of your board to be able to have space on board and play something like Lotheb or Iron Beak. And Ostkaka does that. He knows he needs the space. If there is a Frost Nova Doomsayer, he needs space for silence.
And this way, he can silence his Sea Giant next turn instead of silencing the Doomsayer, and then he can clear the Doomsayer. So the Doomsayer has no chance of soaking up knives, and those knives could be very important in finding lethal in the future.
I think there is a slight misplay from Pavel. I would like to see a ping on the Imp Gang Boss. And, well, it's not like a misplay, but knowing that there is a possible Iron Beak into that Doomsayer, if you ping the Imp Gang Boss, you fill out his board, and then you Frost Nova, so there is no chance for him to play the Iron Beak to silence the Doomsayer.
Yeah, that's really good, actually. If he had gone for that, this wouldn't be happening right now. And the Giant clears up the Doomsayer. Now look at this board, very threatening. No more Doomsayer, no more freeze, Flame Strike being the only thing that he can drop right now. But it pops open at least 1 egg, which is very dangerous.
I think that's still fine. You have the Frostbolt, so you can... You will end up with a 4/4 on board and an 8/1 if you Frostbolt it.
Yeah, the Frostbolt's great, actually. Looking at it, he can pop up in the egg here, and then he can Flame Strike, Frostbolt the Giant, so next turn he can ping it. He does have to deal with a 4/4, but I wouldn't feel too bad at that point. Goes for the Heal Bot. Okay, maybe he wants to pop up with an egg first before Wait, if you go to the... Can you even go for the heal bot at this point? If you freeze the giant, you do slow things down quite a lot, though.
How much damage is there? 9 damage. So that's not much. Basically, the eggs, like not popping the eggs is fine as well. Basically, they are a 0 attack almost. 10 damage, I think, with the other egg. So Ostkaka doesn't have enough, and he cannot play any minions here unless he trades, which he can do.
You can pop your egg open to get that 4/4 down. Run your Argus into the anti-heal bot, or even your Owl, whichever, and then drop Low-Feb, and then he can't do an AoE effect like a Frost Nova or a Flame Strike, and things look really dangerous from that point.
Yeah, it's hard to clear because of Lotheb, and overall I think Ostkaka can set up a really nice situation here with that Lotheb, and he still has burst. Like, if he pops the block next turn, then Pavel will have to either kill him or freeze the board and I don't know what to do, block the spells, because there might be a Soulfire just waiting to win the game.
Is he going to hold off at this point? Interesting. He demanded an answer at this point. He could have dropped the Low-Feb to protect it from the AoE. Perhaps he feels a bit more secure having that egg down as well. What do you think of that play from Ostkaka?
I'm already thinking about Pavel's play, actually. With this, he is forcing AoE, and something can stay on board, and then if there's Lotheb, he still has Sunburst. Like, he can deal 12 with the Power Overwhelming and Soulfire. It's hard to say. I don't know what exactly Ostkaka was thinking there. I'm trying to find a way to win for Pavel. If he can maybe go Antonidas into Ice Block, into Frost Bolts, getting 2 Fireballs, is that enough? No, not really.
He was hovering over Blizzard there. If he goes for the Blizzard, he will leave the egg up, but he can go for the Frostbolt first. He will take a dagger to the face. He can Blizzard, and then he can Flame Strike. However, we know that there's a Low-Feb sat in the hand, so if the Blizzard might just make the Flame Strike... Oh, he goes for the Flame Strike instead, of course, yeah. So this is very clean. He only leaves 1/1/1 up. I forgot that was a discounted at that point.
Yeah, he had enough mana. And Ice Block, obviously he couldn't play Ice Block this turn as well because he has an Ice Block already. Okay, so Pavel was able to clear the board. He still has a lot of freezes to stop Ostkaka, unless Lotheb is played somewhere along the way. And he has the Archmage Antonidas to find... Actually, Blizzard with Doomsayer might be quite good. Freeze the board and stop anything from being played by Ostkaka. And now he finds a spell that he can turn into Fireball.
Yeah, I quite like that. Blizzard into Doomsayer. Because Low-Feb doesn't have any effect, really. Unless he can clear the Doomsayer as well. Which he won't be able to do. He can, well... He'll get an extra imp, right? But that imp gets frozen, of course. So, yeah, he won't be able to use Overwhelming with the Direwolf Alpha, for example. Leroy comes to hand. That is a way to deal with that Doomsayer with Direwolf Leroy.
Yeah,
if you really want to go that line.
He can also pop the block here, which is quite awkward. I mean, still, Pavel has a block in his hand, like a second one. But is it tempting to pop the block, or do you want to just clear the Doomsayer and keep the board intact?
It is a tough one. I mean, we've seen a lot of AoE clear from Pavel already. So to expect another Blizzard after seeing a Flame Strike Blizzard, Frost Nova, double Doomsayer, he may just take a risk here. I like popping. No, I like clearing actually. Thinking about it, just keep the board intact. Force him to have another answer. He does have the answer to it, unfortunately for Ostkaka. But there was a possibility he didn't have it, and then this board would become very threatening.
Yeah, it was a good move overall, because even if you pop the block, you actually have nothing to follow up and kill Pavel. And if he has a second ice block with something like Antonidas, you're in a bad shape. So he was able to stall there, and he's still in the game and fighting. Pavel is getting lower and lower, you know. Implosion didn't hit, but Ostkaka still has those burst cards in hand.
The only issue as well is Ostkaka's getting low as well, so that could be problematic. Alex Straza can be used as a defensive play in the future for Pavel. Here, Things are a little bit awkward. Do you fireball the low fab?
I think what you can do, you can ignore it maybe. Like, you have to consider going for face as well. You've seen Lothep, so what can Zoo do after this? Maybe just go Arcane Intellect and attack face, ping face. Get him to 14. Oh, he goes with the Fireball to face. That's fine as well. Because next turn, in theory, you will be able to Archmage, Ice Block. Yeah, just Archmage, Ice Block, Ice Lance. And you're good. You have 2 Fireballs. What can he do?
You can also intellect as well to find that Pyroblast. So you can have 3 draws for the Pyroblast, and then if the block does get popped and he finds a Pyroblast, he just plays another block, and then he's won the game. So yeah, I think that's a good play actually. Putting him in range of Pyroblast, putting him in range of potential lethal with all the draws he has coming up.
Yeah. Alright, so it seems like Pavel won this, even though Ostkaka gave us some excitement. This is a bad matchup to begin with, right? But it seemed like he has an opening somewhere. He had the chance. Like maybe if he would play Lothep before, or if there would not be this the second Blizzard.
Yeah, it was a tough match to navigate. Like you said, it was already pretty bad to start with, but then it's also finding the right way to do things. Playing what can you play around? Can you play around all of the clears in the mage deck, like banking them on drawing them all? But Antonidas going to come down with the ice block, going to give him that fireball, frozen ice lance at the Doctor Boom to protect the Antonidas, putting 2 fireballs in hand, and this should be it now.
Yeah, this should be enough. No second Lothep. Chasm Mystic can save him. Power Overwhelming. Oh wow, Power Overwhelming. Can Power Overwhelming save him at the end of the turn? So the bomb can not kill him. Alright. Just I was just thinking if there's... He doesn't know if it's an ice block, but he knows... Oh, actually... Wait, was there a way? No, there was no way. Okay, the bomb actually like hits by the end of turn of Ostkaka. So I was thinking if there's a way to kill him with the bomb on his turn, but not really.
Now the wording on the card says end of turn. If you died at the start of your opponent's turn, then there was definitely potential there. But Ostkaka shouldn't feel too bad. He did play that match quite well, I think. He did give Pavel a run for his money, considering that's a bad matchup. But he still has to win with 2 other decks. I mean, this Zulak can still find a win. So we're going into game number 4 here. 2-1 to Ostkaka so far. 1 game away from winning $5,000 and being crowned your champion. But Pavel has not given up just yet. He's going to be fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. Pavel got that win that he expected, and now he's going for a mirror match. But I think Ostkaka has an advantage with regards to decks. You mentioned that before. Ostkaka is running the Sea Giant, the Leroy version, and the Pavel is running a more stable, let's say, or standard Dark Iron Dwarf and Brand version. So obviously openings are openings, but in the grand scheme of things, if there is an early Sea Giant, then there might be not an answer for him from Pavel's perspective. And if both get low on health, then Ostkaka can actually get an opportunity to Leroy for the win. But on the other hand, Pavel will be having a stable board, and if he keeps that board stable and extends it, does good trades, and takes Goldshire Footman.
The good old Goldshire Footman. Ready for action, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a good card, actually, in Zoo versus Zoo. But what is on the board? On board, there's a 2-1, right, from Ostkaka?
Yeah, there's a Abusive Sergeant. Yeah, Goldshire Footman seems like the card. He can defend against a 2-1. Well, in the future, it may not be as effective. It might block a couple of imps, but overall, Knife Juggler is going to be a nice minion to come down. 3-2 with the Knife Juggler effects. Egg's a good way to challenge it in the future, especially with that Power Overwhelming sitting in the background. Is he going to pop the Egg open?
Yeah,
Wow.
because the Power Overwhelming would give him too much value. And if the knife hits the 4-4, then Knife Juggler contests it. So already an interesting play and a great play by Ostkaka. And he had still a chance to get something like a Soulfire and then just kill it right away.
And this Knife Juggler poses quite a big threat, so I'd be surprised if we don't see the 4-3 go into it. He could have potentially ignored it there, maybe, because the knives don't interact with the Imp Gang boss, but is that a minion you ever want to leave up?
Probably not. And now Ostkaka needs to... Oh, actually, he can slam Gormok as a 4-4. And because he is a bit ahead on board at the moment, just keep that initiative. Decides to go for Haunted Creeper. Gormok still presents a big threat if you're able to get 4 minions, and Haunted Creeper gives you that chance.
I mean, Gormok could potentially help him get some extra burst damage in the future as well. If he goes for like a 9-mana Leroy Gormok, that could pose as a lethal threat as well. I like him clearing up this Imp Gang boss here because the Spider does clear the 2 tokens on its own. So, very good play from Ostkaka so far. You know, definitely going for the board-centric line, not being too aggressive at this point, and forcing Pavel to kind of fight back.
Yeah, this is something I was really waiting for, because I always love to watch Ostkaka play Zoo. He makes some plays that are not really easy to see, and he has a different style, and he wins with it. Right now, he is a bit behind, unfortunately for him, because of that Knife Juggler, and Goldshire Footman, you'll not be able to get into it, but he can slam Lotha being the biggest minion on board.
So anything else he could do? I think Lotheb's probably it here. Plays around Power Overwhelming, one of these small guys. So the 5/5 will need an honest response from the board. And but you know, Pavel's looking pretty good now. He gets another taunt minion. Lots of little taunts. It's not very often you see this. Decides to go for the tap, just using that opportunity while he has board to maybe pick up some extra minions, but finds an Implosion, which is a great card as well. So things are looking pretty good for Pavel at the moment.
Yeah, Ostkaka would need something like an Implosion himself to be able to come back from this. Lotheb is not doing anything. Just playing Gormok as a body might be something he has to do. Sea Giant, not this turn yet. So with the power overwhelming, he can lose the big minions. And then Pavel can slam his own Lotheb to block things. So I would not hate something like PO on... Actually, even Implosion maybe, because he has the Knife Juggler.
I think you need to clear the in-game boss first if you
Yeah.
go for the Implosion. You don't want that guy spawning loads of 1/1s. And if he gets a nice number here, 2 isn't brilliant. And, oh, they... Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, he can still hit the knife though.
And he clears it. So not too awkward after all. Pavel taking the dominating lead on board here. And this is what you need to do in this Zoo game. And nothing in Ostkaka's hand that can help him at the moment.
Yeah, I can't see anything actually. Just slamming the Sea Giant might be the thing you need to do. And you can't even tap your too low at the moment. And there's 5 plus 3 plus 2 more. It's 8, 10, 14 damage. If the knives hit, you will be probably 1 off still. But that's the position you want to be in anyway.
I don't think there's any way Ostkaka's come back from this.
Yeah, especially with Lotheb.
Yep, Lotheb blocks out any kind of overwhelmings, any implosions. 5 health left, a giant ball from Pavel. This looks like it's probably going to go to a game number 5 to decide who is the champion of the Hearthstone Champions League Season 2. So this is the intense game that you guys want. One of these guys is going to be very happy with the $5,000 and the championship under their belt. And one guy's going to get $3,500, which is not bad at all. But these guys want to win.
I was waiting for you to say, and one of those guys is going to be really unhappy with $3,500.
I mean, I think I would be unhappy as a player in these guys' position. They want to win. I mean, money's great, but you know, tournament wins is what makes you get invites to these invitationals and stuff like that. That's what people look at. So, I mean, money's great, but when you're a competitive Hearthstone player, tournament wins.
The pride
is what.
of the
It's the
champion.
pride. It's the grand prize, really. Ostkaka, you know, won a lot of money from the World Championship, but he is the world champion. That is a title that only him and Firebat hold. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, these titles mean a lot.
But this matchup was supposed to be good for Zoo, and it is a great matchup for Zoo. But Pavel got a very important Wild Grove, and he has a very important Keeper of the Grove into Lotheb or another Keeper if he wants to. So normally Zoo is able to overpower Druid easily with cards like Power Overwhelming and then the Rubian Eggs. But thanks to the good opening, Pavel has a chance to fight back and maybe even take this game from Ostkaka.
Yeah, those keepers are great, and there's an enhancer mechanic which we were talking about earlier. So he is running the Chinese the Sea Giant Zulot with Leroy completely. Those enhancers, but like you said, Pavel has an opportunity to definitely fight on board here. Needs a good implosion. Gets a 2. Very unfortunate for Ostkaka there.
Yeah,
and that might.
It was really important because of Enhancer Mehano as well. If he will get something like a 4, he will get a lot of really good imps. Pavel doesn't have a swipe.
And Lofeb is going to lock out any power overwhelming shenanigans coming from these 1/1s. And if he gets a swipe next turn, things will look fantastic for Pavel.
What can Ostkaka do? Just play small minions, I guess. Before you play Enhancer Mechano, you want to have as many minions as possible. So he can go for the Flame Imp, the Ruben Egg, Abusive, and even kill the Lothab, I feel.
Yeah, I think you kill Lofeb at this point. You do clear all your little 1/1s, but if a swipe comes down, it's pretty devastating. So yeah, I think I like maybe the Imp. You could go for the Egg, but I think the Peddler probably has a lot more value. See what you get from the Peddler first, and might influence how you play the rest of this turn.
Actually,
Seeker. Okay.
There's a second Abusive, which probably changed his line of play, but there was some value in not killing Lothab overall, because Voidwalker is blocking the Lothab unless there is a Shapeshift. And if there is a Shapeshift, you know that Druid will only have 4 mana for his disposal, and you've seen one keeper already, so there's a chance that there is nothing to block it. But Force of Nature is a great card to deal with a lot of minions at the same time. He can also
Swipe would have been beautiful, though.
Yeah, Swipe would be the best. Like, Swipe is literally worth $1,500 right now, but...
Yeah, so what would you do here? Is it worth using the Force of Nature on this?
You can Keeper and Shapeshift, like Keeper the 2/1, or actually Keeper the 2/2 and Shapeshift into 1/1, and you have a 2/4 to challenge the rest of the minions on board. I think that's probably the best, but if you go for Force of Nature, you clear 3 minions and have nothing, so I think there is nothing better than Keeper overall.
Yeah, he agrees. Simple ping and hero power to try and relieve some pressure off Pavel here. He still has a lot of good cards going into next turn. Ancient of Lore might find him something like a swipe going forward. Druid of the Claw, nice tanky minion. Ostkaka, on the other hand,
Is it
still...
Enhancer?
Is it Enhancer time? I would like to see Flaming Enhancer.
I think it might be. Like, if you get the Taunts or Divine Shields, it will be super annoying for Druids to deal with your board, especially if you have 4 minions with buffs. If you get Wind Fury on the 2/1s, they deal 4 damage suddenly. I mean, they will not be able to kill the 2/4, but you can start pressuring and asking yourself, is there that swipe somewhere or not?
Yeah, I think Enhancer is definitely the play. Like you said, it can create such a nuisance for Pavel, where Enhancer would be a little bit less efficient, but I think he's just going to flood the board with less swipe vulnerable minions.
Alright.
I think that's fine. That's probably a little bit better. We want to see some crazy Enhancer stuff, but Ostkaka's going to hold back and wait for the moment that he feels is the best.
Oh man, that
Oh, giant Dr. Boom!
It jumped on the board so fast. It didn't even land. It just bounced.
He's just flying in the sky right now.
Yeah, but this has to be the time for Enhancer Mechano. And what can Ostkaka get? Can he get Wind Fury on a 3/2? Can he get a taunt on the Rubinek? What?
Oh, he gets the taunt as well. Wow.
That's interesting. That's nice. And
That's great for him.
Yeah, it's really good. And the Wind Fury on the 1/2 is also interesting, because if he gets something like the PO in the near future, you'll be able to pack a lot of damage from it.
Yeah, and the thing with having a Wind Fury on a Haunted Creeper, you know, it's a nuisance to deal with, because when you pop it open, it's going to just spawn more minions anyway. And like you said, if you do decide to kind of just leave it alone, a PO will make it really crazy.
Did he miss an attack from the spider?
No,
He attacked twice, okay.
Yeah, he attacked twice.
For once face and once for the bomb. Alright. Okay, so what do? You can pop the egg.
You can pop the egg with 11 roots, which is pretty decent. And then you can... Well, you can force a nature as well at this point. You can pop the egg and... Okay, so he's going for the imp first. He could use Living Roots here to pop the egg open, clear the egg with 7/7 and drop the taunt. That is an option.
Force is not bad overall. Force will be able to clear the 3/1 and the 4/4. And then you... But here you can clear the Wind Fury, which might be a bit more important. Because if there is this power overwhelming, suddenly it's 8 damage out of nowhere.
Oh, he leaves him up?
Okay. Well, he does have a taunt in the way.
Direwolf Alpha, almost a dream. But not quite there.
With a knife, with a good knife, it can maybe work.
But you can't commit low feb as well, so...
Tap into PO. That would be so funny. Like, knife juggler into direwolf, knife lands into 4/6. Then he attacks into it with the 5/4 because it's now buffed. And then goes PO on the spider, and spider attacks for 12 to face.
The dream, right?
Or even 6 to face, and then attacks into Dr. Boom, and the knives kill Dr. Boom. But no PO.
No dream, unfortunately. Ostkaka's going to have to take a more practical and fair route in order to deal with this. But he still hasn't quite decided. The rope is burning down. Definitely looks like a knife juggler. Direwolf Alpha is not mana efficient. Imp Boss is a little bit more stickier. Let's see where the knives go first, I guess.
He really wants to kill that 4/1. Can he kill it? Nope.
No, it doesn't get killed. 4/1 sticks around.
How much damage is there now? With force, that's 11 plus 6, 17, 19, 20 damage. Really close to just having lethal on Pavel's side. This game is so intense, but I think Pavel has a great advantage here. He can basically clear this board easily with force if he wants to, and he'll just have a vanilla 7/4 on board.
What could he do?
So,
He could clear the knife juggler with the living roots. That's nice and clean. He could even heal his Druid of the Claw here, which I quite like.
I think I kind of like force. So attack into Imp Gangbos with 4/1, take 1 dagger somewhere, and then force and shapeshift and kill everything. You take 1 damage to face, and then you slam face with Dr. Boom. And after that you play Ancient of Lore next turn. But this is probably fine as well. Just
This
pressure.
represents so much damage next turn. He has Force of Nature combo with Living Roots. You can just slam 7 to face, and now he's saying to Ostkaka, do you have a way to clear my board? Does it take him down to 16? So he actually has lethal from hand alone at this point. Ostkaka needs taunts.
Well, he has
Or a
low
low feb to stop this. So Ostkaka can hold things off for a little while. But look at this board from Pavel, is very threatening.
Yeah, it's absolutely threatening, and Ostkaka... Can Ostkaka just leave it alone? Or does he have to clear Boom? Alright, so he clears Boom first, then goes for the Lothab, and he cannot play Nerubian Egg this turn. But this is still great situation for Pavel. He can literally just kill the Lothab and deal 2 damage to face, or do whatever. He has the combo in hand.
He can heal himself, drop the shade, clear the low feb. Still in a fantastic position to win the game. He could draw if he wants, but I don't really see a need to at this point.
Does it mean that Pavel was actually able to reverse sweep Ostkaka in the final from 0-2 to 3-2 versus the world champion?
It does. I mean, we were seeing Ostkaka kind of on a streak up to this point. He hadn't lost a game until the complete reverse sweep from Pavel. Is it anything Ostkaka can do at this point?
Not really, even though he got Leroy, he has a lot of bursts, but Ostkaka concedes, and Pavel is your Hearthstone Champions League champion. Very impressive win.
Pavel taking his first major, $5,000 as well. Fantastic play from both players. That came right down to the wire. Ekop was, like you said, in a very comfortable position, 2-0, and a reverse sweep from Pavel secures him not only the title as champion of this season, but also the cash as well. So big congratulations to Pavel. And well played from Ostkaka, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Ostkaka played great, but Pavel played really meticulous. Well, his plays were meticulous, and he played really well as well. Just to remind you guys, his way from the very start of Group B, he was in group with Ekop, Hoy, and RDU. He went through as the first player for the winner's bracket. He had a 6-2 score, so he dropped only 2 games and had a really good score overall, playing control decks, playing Freeze Mage, Green Node deck, and the last deck was the Druid. And then yesterday he won versus Orange 3-1, so again a very convincing win. Won versus Thijs, and now won versus Ostkaka.
Yeah, fantastic tournament for Pavel there. A big moment for his career, I think, showing the world that he can get a tournament win under his belt, and now he can go forward in 2016 with already a major title, and I'm excited to see what he brings in 2016. More tournament wins, potentially qualification for BlizzCon in the future. He just missed it last year. He just missed it, so a lot of exciting stuff for Pavel and both Ostkaka in the future.
Yeah, I think Pavel has a good chance. Like, even if he misses the spring and summer champs qualification, he has a good chance to actually qualify for the final champs. I think overall, with points, he should be able to get into the invitational, which is in autumn. So, great player. Is he Kel'Thuzad?
And Kel'Thuzad's gonna be cycled out very soon, so maybe Pavel will embody the spirit of the card and the Lich himself and carry on into the future.
I think, yeah, absolutely. And I love watching Pavel play with his control decks. He's mostly bringing decks like Hand Logs and Demon Logs, Freeze Mages, Control Warriors, Control Priests as well to those tournaments. So if you liked how he played, definitely watch Pavel where he plays and when he plays in the tournaments, because he's a great player.
And I would say the first game of this series as well was one of the most intense and kind of like skill and mechanical based matches we've seen the whole tournament. It was absolutely magnificent from both players, very clutch. Could have went either way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was saying that then, and I agree with you right now. The Paladin versus Freeze Mage was just beautiful and played great from both sides. And I think we also, like, when that Lothep came down and blocked the Pyroblast, we've seen Pavel actually reacting, because mostly he's keeping a poker face, being super calm about everything that happens on board. But when he saw that Lothep, he was like, I had it! I had it!
He could taste it, but now he wins the tournament. He takes that $5,000. So yeah, it was a fantastic casting with you, Nimsha. Had a great top 8, a lot of tense games, and every player I think performed exceptionally well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aqua. It was great casting with you as well, and thank you everyone watching the tournament. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you guys will show up for more tournaments in the future to watch those players and hear us trying to tell their stories and how they become champions. So I think that will be it from us, from me, from Aquablood, from the production team. Big shout out to the sponsors as well, making this tournament happen. And thank you again, and great viewers, and see you guys in the future. Have a good night.
Whoa.